Hello, everyone, and welcome to Final Fantasy Count Up Cast number 4. This week, while we are going to be talking about Final Fantasies 4 and 5, we have something far more important to talk about first, the confirmed delay of Final Fantasy 15, which is definitely, considering that Count Up is entirely about counting up to Final Fantasy 15,
Yeah,
I'd say that warrants a pretty important part of the
complicates
show.
things a little bit.
Yeah, a little
we're,
bit.
we're still counting up.
We are.
I'm really happy we're not talking about No Man's Sky.
Okay. Well, apparently it's No Man's release date now. So anyway.
What else is important?
Oh my goodness. So, I am one of your hosts, Michael Mr. Happy Poveromo. Joining me is, of course, tehMorag, as usual, and Slackaholicus, who, just like Final Fantasy 15, managed to delay this live stream by
By
about...
about 15 minutes, and then I was ready, but we dicked around for like 6 minutes. after.
Yeah, and it's mostly because Morag doesn't like colors. At least he doesn't like them. I just can't see them.
I don't like the color blue today.
You don't like the color anything today?
The color blue can go away, but as you can see on my screen,
Or it can't go away, apparently.
yeah, Mr. Happy has this very cool drap shadow look to him now, and my shirt is slightly fuzzy.
Luckily, on my stream, I don't even bother. I'm like, I have a green screen in front of me, but like his has a fold in it, and his is blue, and I can't tell what's going on, and his is one shade. I'm just like, whatever. They know you're in front of screens. I don't have backgrounds to put you guys in front of. You guys are just there. Just gonna have it that way. Well, I'd say that people know us well enough, so maybe we should just get into the headline of our show today, and that is the confirmed delay of Final Fantasy 15's release date.
Hi, my name is Morag, and I am upset. The delay
Hi, Morag.
is here.
Slack.
Oh, man. Hey, at least it doesn't come out during TwitchCon now.
Yay. It's funny because I've been saying how much I didn't like that was happening. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe they should just change it.
And Square was
whoop.
listening. They were like, you know what? We'll fix it just for you, Happy.
Oh, thank you, Square Enix. I'm sorry I ruined everyone's end of summer.
But hey, with now there's 2 extra months. They said that the day 1 patch is going to be on disc now, which is really awesome. They said there's going to be some extra goodies as well on disc. You know what? I'm actually kind of happy. Like, if this is for real, they want to actually try and improve the quality of the game, or they just felt that they had too strong of a lineup and they need to spread it out maybe. But to actually go and put a firm little like down on day 1 patches, I'm kind of happy about that because no other company has kind of done that. Like, they're highlighting the fact that day 1.
Yeah,
patch
we haven't seen a
on-
delay like this close to release from a AAA company in a very long time that I can think of.
I mean, yeah, we were 6 weeks away.
Actually, wasn't it Deus Ex also?
Yeah, Deus Ex got delayed from January to this coming Tuesday, next Tuesday, 8 days
It's
from
like
now.
next Tuesday. Like,
When
they
did
have
that delay happen?
Delay. It was a handful of months before.
Yeah, it was like maybe November of last year, just before.
close.
And also, No Man's Sky had that 2-day delay on the PC version just last week. This isn't a show about No Man's Sky. I don't want to talk about it. So it already seems like we're in agreement that none of us are particularly upset at the delay.
Yeah. It gives us more time to play more Final Fantasy games.
Yay!
You know what? I'm just gonna say it here. I want to see if we can somehow get like a multiplayer Crystal Chronicles playthrough, even if we don't finish the game. But
I'm down for
somehow
that.
Multiplayer online, maybe.
Yeah, we got to figure out. I mean, I think I know how to do that. It's not that because you can do that even with like Final Fantasy V's multiplayer. Like you could even set that up over the web. So
It is possible, but it's extremely buggy because it's GBA connections going into the Wii U over online, so the delay buffer stuff it can get screwy.
yeah,
But I've been playing around with it.
well, I'd be down for that.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
So with 15's delay, what does that mean for Count Up in particular? Because we were supposed to, our schedule is listed on the website. We're supposed to.
That's what it means.
We quit. That's it. We're done.
I know that all my chat is like, now you have time to play the MMOs, Morag.
That's all mine has said too. I was like, I'm not playing 11. Stop.
Oh,
I'm
actually,
not.
I actually was trying to think of a way. It's like if F11 did like a free weekend.
They have one right now.
They're having one right now, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not in the 2-month delay window where all the new stuff happens. That's what we got to plan out. The 2 months. So if we just do a raid on Bastock and we just, destroy Windurst and we have fun with it, it's good stuff.
I don't even know what you just tried to insinuate. Did you just? What do you mean destroy Windurst? Like we're not gonna raise it to the ground.
We're gonna blow Windurst up.
I mean, that sounds like fun to me.
The only way I play Final Fantasy XI is if all three of us play at the same time and the same day. It's the only way I play.
Right.
If all three of us make a new character and do the story together, that's the only way you get me to play 11.
Have they like sped it up? Because like
the leveling you could do 1 to 99 in 6 hours now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not on
I've heard from my chat a few times. The leveling is not bad at all now.
That's awesome.
An easy con mob gives like 2,000 experience or something.
Well, okay, that's only if you finish the Rhapsodies. Rhapsodies, I think, doubles all EXP from every mob or something that you get. And you can't do that as a brand new character. You have to have some things done prior to that.
Yeah,
but
some Windurst lovers in the chat. Just saying.
Some Windurst lovers. I started in Bastock. I was Bastocking. I was a Puppet Master main. I loved it. Oh, that's not funny. It's not funny that I was a Puppet Master main. It was really overpowered.
Puppet Master seemed like a cool class. I actually wanted to play it, but
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. That's the only thing that's the only job I could play that didn't make me want to fall asleep playing Final Fantasy XI. Auto attack.
I like
Auto attack.
fun.
Auto attack. Weapon skill.
14 seconds.
Auto attack. Auto attack. Weapon skill. There you go. There you go. All right. So, in other words, it doesn't actually affect count up. We're still following along, but we have more time to play more games. World of Final Fantasy is now a game that fits into that schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing to consider. Considering that game was supposed to be slated to have 100 hours without side content. That was the last thing they told us. 100-hour long story before side content. I don't know if I believe it, but that's what they told us.
Yeah, we've heard stories like that before.
Yes, we have. But it is basically World of Pokemon, so I'm assuming it's because they expect us to catch
like
a
what
lot.
They're counting as side content doesn't include collecting all of the essentially Pokemon of the game.
Yeah. And it's like if you want to collect them all and then do stuff on the side, then it'd probably be more than 100 hours. But and then of course we have things like 13.2 and 13.3 if anyone has any interest in them.
I'm so happy I'm gonna be playing the 13.2. I actually, you know what? I'm not gonna lie. As soon as like the delay happened, because I was gonna just speed through 13 and get into 13.2 because 13.2 is probably arguably still one of my favorite, and I'm looking forward to playing through it now, and like not at a rushed pace.
We also have After Years. I actually skipped After Years because I wanted to. You played it. I know you went
right now.
Yeah, I know you went directly into After Years, and now that fits in the schedule. After Years fits in the schedule. Also Tactics for anyone who's considered playing it, that can easily be added. You've mentioned Crystal Chronicles. I see Slack's great face that I'd love someone to make a GIF of. So yeah, basically it just means that we're extending count up way past the main series because there's so much extra time to cover at this point. So anyone who's worried about count up cast being affected, it's not. It means even more Final Fantasy for you guys, which I don't think anyone could complain about.
Yep.
No? Nope. Well, with that out of the way, we do have 2 Final Fantasies to talk about this week. So hope you guys have your seatbelts on because you're going to be on for a long ride here. The first one we have to talk about is Final Fantasy IV. Now, just a quick reminder for everyone watching which platform I played on. I played the PSP version on my PlayStation TV.
I played PSP as well too, on the PSP itself.
I played the GBA version of Final Fantasy IV.
All right, so we will have slightly different experiences based on that, especially when it comes to our first topic, which is usually our party composition. The PSP version has a neat little function that the other versions don't have. At least I don't think the GBA version has it.
GBA does have it, yeah.
It does have it. Okay, so we all have this. Good, we can all talk about it then. So anyway, Final Fantasy IV is just a game that has a ton of different characters that kind of each has their own job stereotype. You have your Dragoon, you have your White Mage, you have your Summoner, you have your Black Mages, etc., etc., etc. Are there any characters that you guys favored in Final Fantasy IV as you were going through the entire game and you wish you didn't have to lose them as party members?
I've always been a fan of monks, so Yang. like punching things.
High five for that one. There you go.
Telepalm was always one of my favorite sets. Just seeing them and then they disappear, and you're just like.
I like Palom and
Porom.
Porom. The problem, like growing up, I was like, look at this twin cast thing. This is so powerful. You combine their two magics, except twin cast sucks.
Except it's slow.
When I got older and I found that out, I was like, oh yeah, never mind. I don't want to use them ever.
Yeah.
I mean, their magic for the point in the game you have them is really good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they're good as characters too.
Losing Tella is also a big pain because at the time when you get him, he has level 3 magic like an hour and a half into the game.
Mm-hmm.
That
He
hurts.
barely has the MP to support it, but he has the magic.
Yeah. Hey, you get to a boss with that level 3 magic, they're dead in 2 turns.
Yeah, essentially. Do you prefer this kind of way that Final Fantasy IV plays out, where everybody kind of just the characters have a job and that's what their job is, and then you just play through the game and you recognize them all, or do you prefer like Final Fantasy 3 or 5, which we'll talk about later, where it's an actual job system and where you can take any character, make any job out of them?
I enjoyed it. It felt a little bit nicer compared to like it didn't feel as like kind of streamlined as 1, but it didn't feel as open as 2 or 3. Like going and seeing how 3's job system now is, I don't like it.
Yeah,
5's is a lot more interesting and just made it really really fun. But talking about and seeing it from 4's point of view, 4 is the first one that actually made each character feel useful. Each thing that you did almost felt like it was equivalent to someone else, or there was a strength or weakness for each character that you could actually bring up versus certain battle.
What about you, Slack?
Oh man, I like this better than Final Fantasy III's way of doing it for sure. It almost kind of calls back to like Final Fantasy II. I feel like where overall the whole story does, because like you said, characters coming and going all the time, and a lot of the characters that join your team in that are very specialized when they join. Like you got Picard, who is clearly supposed to be hitting things with a spear.
Yeah. You have Edward, who's apparently just dies in one hit.
Later
Gordon.
on, as the series develops, I really like both ways of doing it. Tactics is my favorite game, so I really like job systems. But I think Final Fantasy IV does a really good job of having like characters that are specialized towards a specific job and keeping it sort of interesting. It really does a great job of using those jobs as their like story driving points, their character defining points, not just in battle but in plot as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so in our versions, actually, we have an advantage that doesn't exist in the Steam version or the original version. All of us are actually able to change our party composition at the end of the game, which I didn't know was a thing until I played through Final Fantasy IV just recently. I didn't know there was a version that allowed that.
You're not able to do that on the DS version?
Nope.
In the Steam version?
Nope.
Oh.
You are
No, instead that one gives your characters like learn augments, I think they're called.
Yes.
Skills, and then you get to master those augments and equip them on different characters, which sometimes either changes your stats or I think can give you new abilities.
It ended up breaking like how some fights end up working, from what I understand too. People were telling me it's like, oh, why haven't you done this? I was like, oh, you're not playing that version. It's like, that sounds really ridiculous and broken.
It is. So augments could be made incredibly, ridiculously powerful in the Steam or DS version. So, but yeah, we actually get to pick our party members. Did you guys change parties when you got to that point, or did you just go straight through with the final 5?
For the final fight, I decided to try and keep my time as small as possible. I just kept the main party, went through the final dungeon a few times to level up and to get all of those characters' equipment. Since the final dungeon is designed around those characters, I was like, we'll just play through it with those, and then I'll do another playthrough of the dungeon with 4 different characters, and then do a final one with 1 final character so that I could get all of the bonus content unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. I stuck with what Morag did, and I just stuck with the final 5 and just made the best of whatever I could. I know how to play through the game the best with those 5, and I feel like that last dungeon's definitely balanced towards those 5.
Part of the problem, I was actually very annoyed at having to do that, to try and like minimize my time, because on the GBA version, I guess the way that the emulator runs it, it doesn't do a very good job of emulating the ATB properly. So what'll happen is like you'll tell a character to do something, but it won't happen for 2, 3, 4 turns when
Oh.
it should have happened way earlier. So, for example, Kane's jump command, it's terrible. It completely neuters Kane as a character because jump is almost entirely useless. It's not a very good skill normally, but it takes so much longer for it to get charged up the way that I was playing it that he's just a terrible character. There's no reason to have him.
At least you can be happy that you have the option to not play him in that version where it does it poorly.
Exactly.
So that's one victory, I suppose. All right, so party compositions, we all pretty much kind of stuck with what worked, what the game was designed around. Slack messed around with some other characters. I'm very surprised you didn't just outright not do anything with Kane. With hearing
I
that
considered
story.
it, but like his bonus equipment is in there, and I wanted to give it a shot. And then like I had to beat the last boss with him anyway.
That's true.
It had to happen at some point. So
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of, you were talking about the ATB. We mentioned it last week. Final Fantasy IV is the first real deviation from what is considered at this point in the series standard, where all of your characters, you select all their actions, and then based on their speed, the entire turn plays out. That is how it has worked up to this point. In Final Fantasy IV, we are introduced to the active time battle system, or also known as the ATB, where you're given a gauge and you can perform an action whenever the gauge is full. The gauge can be sped up or slowed down with different spells or stats or things like that. How did it feel going from the first 3 games to Final Fantasy IV now with the ATB? Because for me, it was a huge relief to finally have the ATB system back, because it's my preferred system by far.
You can actually see what you're doing instead of hoping that you're going to do X amount of damage on that one turn. It was refreshing.
Refreshing?
it's great because, I mean, of those reasons, and the original version, the very original release, doesn't allow you to switch between your characters when their ATB is full. But on the GBA and so forth versions, they do finally implement that as well. And that makes all the difference in the world as well. Not just having the ATB and being like, all right, this character's about to come up. I don't want to use that character right now. Get him out of the way. Have him defend. Being able to switch between the characters. Really nice change.
Mhm.
I don't know about you guys. I always have one character who, if they are my healer, I will just skip their turn over and over again and just save it. As soon as I see the enemy casting a spell, I queue up a heal or some sort of reactive measure, unless I'm casting buffs or something like that. That's just how I play through as soon as I get the ATB, and that's going to be true for all the games going forward. One thing the ATB system comes with, though, is also the downside that your enemies aren't going to wait for you to do anything either. While you are free to react, they are free to act, and however long it takes you to pull off an action, they don't care. They're like, you better go fast.
Actually, what speed did you guys end up playing at?
So 1 was the fastest, if I remember.
Yeah.
I played at 3.
Yeah, I played on 2 for a while, but then the way that the ATB was working on the system, I switched it down. I moved down to 3 afterwards. And I think I actually could have gone even lower, and that would have actually made a big difference. But I just stayed at 3 for simplicity's sake.
Yeah. Like I know, like for myself, I was on 2, 3. I kept switching back and forth. But if I ever needed like a break, I would just sit in the spell screen or the item screen, and then it's paused everything, which was nice.
Yeah.
And I was also playing on wait, not full active as well. Too.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You have a choice, because while you're in just the generic action screen, and you haven't picked anything to queue up yet, it doesn't pause. But if you go into your spell screen or into your item screen, the enemy's ATB stops generating, and so do all your allies' ATB. It all stops generating. But you have the freedom to turn on active. I don't actually know anyone, I think, who's ever, personally, I don't know anyone who's ever played on active, because that's a major difficulty increase when you think about how quickly you go through menus.
A few times. I don't remember a long time ago doing it when I was younger. I'm sure that I did, because I played through a few of these games at least a dozen times. So at some point, I know for a fact that I was like, I'm going to change it up. But I don't remember much about the experience. It's much more fast-paced. I know I've done it in Chrono Trigger as well. It's different.
I'm probably gonna try playing FF6 this time on active.
Really?
And seeing how it goes. Yeah.
Can you reorganize your spell list in that one? Can you like move Cure to the top? Okay.
Oh, you can change your spells between white, black.
Yeah, white, black. You can change the order of the
buffs and
school.
debuffs.
But you can't change the order of the spells. Yeah.
Actually, one thing that was very interesting too, and this was going from 4 straight into 5, at least with 4, the new version of 4, something that I think that we might not have realized, especially if you played newer version versus older version, was the ability of inputting commands while your characters or enemies were doing stuff. FF5, I've been playing on the Super Nintendo version. You can't do that. One command and you wait. You let stuff play out, and it was very interesting. Like with that dynamic, with FF4, it was really nice. So you could just play right through. You could just, especially with ATB, the gauge was always moving, and not having to wait for other commands to go through first.
Yeah,
Something that this didn't take advantage of.
Oh,
Yeah, it's really nice. It's just nice.
Everything about ATB is just nicer. I love the ATB gauge. It's sad. It's weird though that one of the later titles we'll talk about moves away from ATB after many games in a row of having an ATB system. But we'll talk about that Final Fantasy when
it does a really good job of it.
It does a very good job of it. I know. I can't wait till we get to talk about that one. We have all the extra weeks to do so. So was there ever a point in the game where you wanted to get an action off with the ATB, but as you're just scrolling through to it, you're like half a second too slow, and the enemy gets its turn just before you do, and you're just like, no, it's right there.
Yeah.
This has been happening, especially during after years for me. Oh God, like that game is so much more of a we want to kill you all the time thing. So it's far more punishing than 4 is. With 4 though, it's happened as well where I'm like, sometimes I will just go into my spell menu or an item menu or something just to like take a breather and be like, okay, when I come out of this menu, I need to hit down, A as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Go! Ah!
Actually, it's always fun watching a Final Fantasy IV speedrunner because, actually, any of the Final Fantasy speedrunners, especially that have the speed gauge, because they'll run some bosses on a faster speed versus slower speed, because they might not be able to physically type in the commands quick enough.
Yeah.
Menuing in RPG speedruns is actually very important, which is always really cool to watch for some of the older ones where they start introducing ATB. Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6 are kind of cool because of that.
Kingdom Hearts menuing is insane.
I love Kingdom Hearts menuing.
It's so ridiculous to watch.
I would believe that, yeah, because it's all action in gameplay.
Just turning stuff on and off and doing it as quickly as possible. It's just...
Luckily, when we get to 15, we have wait mode. Anyway, don't forget about that. We got wait mode coming up for that one.
We get to wait mode until the game releases.
Yep. We activated wait mode. It's going to last about 2 months.
Good thing it's a limited and it can't get any larger, right?
It does if you leave wait mode and then let it recharge. I'm not trying to tell you it's going to be delayed again. No, I'm not.
It sound like they're going to release like half the game and they're like, well, we're just going to patch in the other half later for you guys.
No.
On disc, but you got to have this special key in order to get past it, or all the NPCs will just kill you. They'll one-shot you.
They'll one-shot you. We'll talk about one-shotting when we move on to talking about progress in the story, because he knows. He knows. That's always great. So next part about Final Fantasy IV is the story. And I don't know about your guys' chat, but my chat loves to refer to Final Fantasy IV as one of the most dominant stories told in any Final Fantasy. Even though it's kind of similar if you think. It's got crystals, it's got the super secret mastermind who you don't know who he is most of the game, and then it's got airships, it's got chocobos, it's got summons.
Moon airships.
Yeah, it's got all the usual Final Fantasy tropes. It's just, hey, dude got taken over and everyone's dying and there's 2 worlds and there's just all this shit.
Actually, funny enough, like with stories, I always find it interesting when I come across people that go and say the story is dumb because they go to space. That was what one person said in my chat. But like realistically, if they went to space or they went to a whole different island in the world because it was sheltered with mysterious fog, what's the difference realistically? But it's always interesting to go and see the mechanics of some of these stories and how they like to go and push around plot points to achieve, a different feeling from people as well too. And this is where with Final Fantasy IV at least, I felt they did a really good job of like just gating you off without gating you off, especially with the tools that you had, either with Black Chocobo, the different airships that you ended up having, the one with a drill, which is freaking awesome, or just finding a ship that's allowed to get off the planet and go to the moon. Like they did a really cool job of just giving you all these different elements to work with, and you'd be like, oh my goodness, where are we going next? What? Type of kind of attitude. So they did a good job with it.
know what's great about the lunar whale? It doesn't do this. It just goes directly to the moon. Although the limited number of places it can land can be quite frustrating on the moon. The airships here are done in a linear sense, but they make a lot more sense because you don't have situations like you did where you have to keep going and getting different ships to get to different things. It's just all part of the story.
The more that I see Final Fantasy 3, the original Final Fantasy 3, I see it more of like their beta test to be like, how can we piss people off but still be a good game?
Give the last boss 4 attacks and a turn.
When you don't have float yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's one of the things I do like about the game, the openness. When you get these new tools, the kind of things that they let you do as far as exploring the world, like when you get your airship underground, you're like, wow, I can fly over lava, look at all this stuff. There's a guy down here, he wants some adamantite, and then there's like a quest chain to bring him adamantite.
Yeah.
You find a tail and you give it to a guy, and then you bring him adamantite. Not much of a chain. Kind of like one link in a chain, but I'm counting it, all right?
Yeah.
All right.
And then you go to the other corner. There's a town down there. There's other equipment you can buy. There's a cave, and then there's another cave, and another cave. All this crazy side content that opens up to you right there.
They reward exploration.
Yeah, which was really, really interesting to see. And for the U.S. market, that was the first time that we had gotten that as much out of a Final Fantasy. Because Final Fantasy 1 kind of punished you for exploration with enemies that are 10 levels higher than you, that one-shot your whole team. And you walk in there and you say, no, I wasn't supposed to do that. Never mind. There goes that 20 minutes I just spent sailing around the world. Thanks for that.
And don't forget that Final Fantasy IV was, as you're saying, the second Final Fantasy game in the United States, because it was Final Fantasy II for us back on the Super Nintendo. Great!
And the long ago, yeah. The other story elements, I feel, it's kind of where Square has started to get their act together as far as storytelling. It's very heavy on the drama. You've got these characters that end up being brothers, and then there's this weird conflict between them of, well, he was kind of a dick, and he tried to kill my girlfriend, but he's still my brother, and he was kind of being mind controlled, so I'm not too mad at him. There's people's parents getting killed and turned into monsters all over the place. It's very heavy on the drama, and sometimes, like with Golbez, that sort of leans towards almost a vaudeville-esque character, where I just picture him like twirling his mustache and like, Rosa will die soon if you don't rescue her from the train tracks. Oh.
You know, I now, just by you doing that, I want to see someone rehash all of Final Fantasy IV story in like a 15 like live action
silent movie
video, where it's just in that style, like old Western style. I would love to see this now.
You internet have been challenged. Just keep that in mind. Did the story feel shorter than you guys remembered? I was shorter than I remembered. Maybe it was just the PSP version being a complete joke that made it feel shorter, but...
Yeah, the GBA version starts making it easier, and then from then on, well, until the DS version, I think
yeah, the Steam version has is a pretty big difficulty spike.
I'd say the story... I didn't think it was too long or too short. I felt it was just right. It was just the right amount of story. Like, it wasn't like a Tales game where it just keeps going on and on.
Oh my god.
This felt just a really nicely packed story of people, trying to be the best hero they could, and killing themselves off every other hour. And like, I know people in chat were like, why are they doing this?
But then you find out that like only one of them actually dies the whole game. It's like, I'll give my life for you, but never mind, I survived. But I'll give my life for you. No, I survived that. Don't worry.
Like the twins are just like, hey, we got unpetrified. We're praying for you.
Master fixed us up. Well, it sucks too because like they hint at it a little bit because you can go and inspect their body and like to try and use items, and they're like, you can't use this item. You're just like, there has to be something.
Because they petrified themselves of their own free will. You can't remove it.
And it's cool though that they at least give you the option to try and do it, even though it means nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with both points in general. I feel like the game the story it told was done in a good fashion. It wasn't too long, wasn't too short, but it was shorter than I remember as a kid, which is partially because of the Super Nintendo version. and we actually know what we're doing now. We know where we're going, so we don't get lost wandering around on the moon or wandering around the lunar subterranean. Oh, that's
You didn't even have the lunar subterranean. Well, actually, I'm sorry. You had the lunar subterranean. It's the lunar ruins. You didn't
Or
have
the
in
lunar
Super
ruin.
No, no, no. The lunar ruins is the optional one. That's the new optional
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they just put the word lunar in front of everything. I can't remember which is
Lunar
which.
Bahamut, Lunar Titan,
I don't
the
just
summons on the moon.
exploring the moon in general was always difficult, as I remember as a kid, and it was still frightening as all hell, even here, at least for me. Like I think I maybe fought all of maybe 4 or 5 battles, and I ran from everything else on the moon.
Yeah, I ran from a lot on the moon too. One thing I didn't run from was my boy Bahamut, who. So the Steam version is regularly considered to be the harder version of the game, but you can't cheese Bahamut in that version, so they weakened Mega Flare. In this version, in the PSP and GBA version, you can cheese it, and it will kill you if you don't.
No, this isn't cheesy. This is a legit tactic. And you know what? It was funny because I was talking to NPCs, and NPCs said, "Oh yeah, I hear the only thing that you can survive with against Bahamut is reflect." And I completely ignore it. I go into the fight, and the countdowns happen. It's like, oh, this will be good. I'm just gonna just face smash. You know, I'm hitting for lots of damage, and all of a sudden, Mega Flare, 6K, 6K, 5K, 6K. It's just like,
Oh, I should have used reflect.
I realized it after I had died once too. And there's those 3 Force Behemoth fights along the way too. That you have to do again, and they have like 30,000 health, and they just counterattack every single attack, and it's annoying as hell.
Actually, I'll go and say too, like the last dungeon of Final Fantasy III was still probably one of my favorite last dungeons so far. And going back and playing through this now with Final Fantasy IV, I gotta say, like, Square Enix really does put on good end dungeons, and I think that's something that I've just haven't looked at enough. In some games, I'm looking forward to, because thinking even to like Final Fantasy VI, the final dungeon is phenomenal.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that next week.
Pretty cool.
So
that was fun.
It makes me sad. I haven't seen the end dungeon for Final Fantasy V yet because I haven't beaten it. I'm gonna be finishing it off today, so I can't talk about it. But
oh, you're gonna love that one. That's actually a point we're gonna talk about the end dungeon, because it's a very important. It's very important, Final Fantasy V's end dungeon, because it was an introduction to something that didn't exist in any of the non-remade versions of 1 to 4 up to this point. So I'm talking about Omega and Shinryu.
Oh, okay, all right.
We'll talk. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. So, Final Fantasy IV is also unique in a sense. It's one of the few stories to have seen additions, sort of like its own universe, with the prologue and or interlude. My bad. The interlude and After Years, a full-blown sequel that lets you know what's happening after the story. You know, that's kind of what the title implies. Do you feel like those games? You've been playing through After Years. I have not played After Years Slack.
Ooh.
I have not, and now I will have time to do so. But so, does it feel like it's actually enriching Final Fantasy IV story? Does it just feel like they tacked it on because Final Fantasy IV was popular?
Yes.
Yes to which?
Both.
Oh, okay.
It definitely feels like I like the idea of it. I like the idea of saying, "Hey, Final Fantasy story was this heavily story-driven game. Let's build on it and do something else with it." And so far I've liked what they've done with it. It's a very different storytelling method than Final Fantasy IV itself, because it's based in chapters, and so each chapter is focusing on a different character at a different time, and they're not really telling you the whole story about like where this is happening, when this is happening. And then there are secrets as to who some of the characters are, and I use that term loosely because I already know who they are. It's not.
Oh, that doesn't make it not a secret. You're just in on the secret.
Well, it's fairly obvious at some points who they are. If you pay attention to what's going on, you'll figure out who they are. But so far, the execution of it, I'm getting up to the point where all the characters, the stories are over, and I'm going to get to the final chapter. But so far,
don't you end up going through the waterways on almost every single character set?
You end up going through the waterway, the one where you get Tella. You go through that like 4 times on Edward alone, and then you go through it 1 or 2 times on the other characters.
Because I think that was like everyone's biggest gripe when I was reading like releases for it. It was just like, yeah, you're gonna see all of maybe 6 zones in the entire game, because you're gonna be going through at least once or twice maybe per character. I was just like, oh, crap.
Yeah, that's one of my bigger gripes with it. That, and like the story elements from 4 get reused. Here's a small spoiler for you. Yang gets on a boat, and the boat gets attacked by Leviathan.
Oh, okay.
It's like
Literally
Yang's entire chapter is just Yang's story from 4 told again, basically, but happening in the future. It's like, why? Do something a little creative.
Leviathan, why can't you just say, "Hey, remember me"?
Just
Hello?
pop up, hello. And then, like, that's my major gripe with it. I don't mind a lot of the callbacks, but sometimes it feels as if it's just going, "Hey guys, hey, remember Final Fantasy 4? Huh?
Almost feels like they're trying to pull like a Battlestar Galactica. It's like all has happened before, and all will happen again. And then it happens in the story.
Could be worse. Could be horror-y. Anyway, if you don't know what that means, I don't want to explain it too much, but in the anime, there's like 8 episodes where it's the same episode 8 times, literally.
It's like just that small little couple seconds tweaked each time.
Yeah, I like to refer to that whenever something repeats itself. All right, so progressing through Final Fantasy IV. Honestly, I could sum this up in 2 words: auto battle. I had literally have never played a Final Fantasy game so easy. No, there's no other Final Fantasy game that is this easy.
I would say
this one is pretty bad about it.
I would say it was by far the easiest, yeah. But it was
on these versions. Originally, I don't remember it being this simple. You have to grind out levels to get to where you're supposed to be in relation to the GBA ones. The GBA ones, I believe, have up the experience rates so that you're much more likely to just go through a battle. Just attack, defend on you, and we're done with the fight. Okay, great. Unless you go into some of the side areas.
Yeah, so I learned something else that made this game even easier when I did that. So there's a point where you're kind of allowed to explore a little bit, and there's a castle that you have no business being in. And when you go into this castle, you learn very quickly that there are no enemies for you to fight until you try to open treasure chests. Yep. And the enemies inside those treasure chests will end you very quickly.
Man.
Hey, where is this?
What was the name of the castle?
Castle.
Eblin Castle. This was
Edge's Castle.
Edge's Castle after it was destroyed, but before you meet Edge.
Yeah. If
you try to go there really early in the game, it is a nightmare. No. What I learned is that you can one-shot pretty much every enemy in there with 1 or 2 abilities. I believe I casted Petrify or Stone on them, and I just one-shot like every single group of them.
Yeah, Break can be pretty broken.
Break, that's it, yeah. Yeah,
apparently Break is really strong for grinding levels in after years as well, so I'm going to be taking advantage of that pretty soon.
But that was literally my only hiccup the whole game was that castle. Other than that, I pretty much would just figure out what I needed to set my cursor to memory wise and auto battle and maybe do like 10 extra fights per area, and then it was a joke.
Because as long as you don't get lost and like backtrack in a ton of these dungeons, which we did as kids probably, but now it's like, oh yeah, I've been there, I came from there, so I need to go this way. You can pretty much freely cast your spells and make it to the next save point of the dungeon, pop a tent, and get your MP back, and never run out of MP the entire dungeon.
This is probably the first game where magic actually felt impactful. And it didn't feel like it was a clutch. It didn't feel so overpowered that you needed it for some parts and that you had to worry, well, maybe I don't want to use my magic. I'll just not use them at all this fight. It actually felt like each character had a reason to be in a fight and they brought something to the table.
I don't know about you. I was just relieved after playing Final Fantasy III to have a game that was just like I could slow it down a little bit and enjoy while not actually slowing down the rate at which I played. Yeah. It was super relieving to play an easy Final Fantasy after the first 3.
It's like, would you call it easy or would you call it more?
I'd call it easy. It was really, really easy. The only 2 times I died were Eblin Castle and Bahamut not reflecting. The only 2 times I died.
I'm trying to think if there were. I went down to the bottom of the Sylph Cave. And there are these treasure chests with monsters inside. There are 6 chests that have monsters inside.
I know this, yeah.
And the 3rd or 4th one I opened up was for Malbros or Greater, I can't remember which. And they ended up bad breathing 3/4 of my team on the first turn. I was like, well, I'm screwed.
3/5. Oh, unless you only had 4 people at the time.
I only had 4 people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I went in there as soon as you can, so I didn't have a 5th character.
That's another thing. This is the first game with 5 characters.
Yeah, which they don't return to. Really.
No. I mean, to be fair, I wasn't a big fan of the way rows work in this game because you either have 3 in front, 2 in back, or 2 in front, 3 in back, and you don't have a choice between the matter.
I kind of like that because, number one, it was forced to try and figure out how you want to play the game. So even if, like, at the very end of the game, especially if you could choose characters, and you have everyone forced to the front, it would make other characters feel completely useless. There'd be no reason to have spellcasters.
I would have a spellcaster because I need someone to heal me at the very least.
1 white mage, and then I'm trying to think if I think I'd rather have a nuker over Kane and maybe Edge.
Maybe
Edge
all
was kind of.
spellcasters then.
I'm down with that. I just use characters because I like them.
Cool, like the option to play through with either a huge full spellcaster team or a full melee team. But
Luckily, we get to talk about
we
get to talk about Final Fantasy V after this, where you can do that. There we go.
Oh, and real quick, I had found an area that I could just auto grind. I literally just put my PSP down, and I gained 10 levels because of how mobs worked with spawning mobs, and you can continually keep spawning mobs over and over and over and over, and you just keep killing it and killing it and killing it, and then you end the battle by killing the person that spawned them all. And
yeah, you talk about the summoner mobs.
Oh yeah, they're excellent. I love them.
Oh yeah, I love them.
Small little just grinding issues.
And that's something that doesn't really work too well in most Final Fantasies. A lot of bosses or even just regular enemies that summon ads, the ads tend to give no experience just so you can avoid having power leveling situations like that. But it is nice when you have a Final Fantasy game that it does work in.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on, you were talking about the final dungeon a little bit. So first question, 1, did any of you try to get any pink tails? Say no. Don't say yes, Slack.
I used a siren, not an alarm. I used a siren.
Yeah, that's the only way to do it. I thought was to use a siren in the room.
Siren in there, and then I didn't get it, and I was like, all right, I'm done.
That's the one where you just get berserked, right? They just auto berserk your whole team, and then you have to fight it out with them.
No, they didn't do anything. They just sat there, and I think they said, "Let's dance."
I think in the Steam version, when they say "Let's dance," they immediately berserk your whole party, so you can't strategize. It's just.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, I think you can equip something that has anti-berserk to prevent that, but
probably like ribbons.
Otherwise, it's I don't think the ribbons worked. I think you needed something specifically for anti-berserk because you have maybe 2 or 3 ribbons depending on how you play through the game at that point. And I don't think the ribbons did anything. I was really annoying. Although the Steam version has the highest drop percentage of pink tails of a 0.7%.
Yeah, I had a person
I thought it
in
was
my
like
chat.
0.8%. Maybe I was thinking of the 0.4. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
In our versions, it's like 0.3 or something. It's really bad. And for anyone who doesn't know what the pink tails are for, he mentioned the adamantite quest, and you have to hand in a rat's tail in order to get the adamantite. There's the NPC you can take pink tails to him to get ultimate armor for characters as well. And it's just got this god-awful percentage drop rate from a god-awful group of enemies that can only be spawned by using a siren in a specific room in the final dungeon.
No, you can get them to spawn normally. They just are extremely rare.
Yeah, but you can guarantee their spawn with a siren.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's got then on top of the spawn rate, it's like a 5% spawn rate.
I was actually reading this. Like, whereas the PSP version, you can't buy sirens. You can only steal them.
You can buy them in the Steam version.
Or you can buy them, and it just makes it way easier too.
I mean, to be fair, it was the most bullshit part of the game when you're considering upgrading characters. So good.
Yeah.
It's an awful experience overall. And part number 2, final dungeon itself plus Zero Miss. If I recall, Zero Miss is regularly received as one of the biggest douchebags of a final game dungeon. If you don't cheese him.
Final dungeon is a bit rough because it's huge. It's the second longest one behind Final Fantasy 3's, I would say. The enemies in there are pretty brutal. The boss fights to get the bonus equipment. If you're not exactly sure what you're doing going into them, you're going to get killed. Like Dark Bahamut. Oh my god.
Yeah.
You thought Bahamut was bad. I really like the final dungeon overall, though. I love this final dungeon. During my playthrough, I was like, I think this is my final dungeon of the series. And then I got to Zeromus.
Yeah. Zeramis is he is regularly received as one of the most unfair final bosses alongside the original Cloud of Darkness. Like Cloud of Darkness was mostly unfair because she got 4 turns and there were 3 enemies total, and it was one of them's immune to magic, one of them's immune to physical, and then she herself is a bitch. So there's no winning. This one, Zeramis literally says every other turn I'm gonna remove about 80% of all of your character's HP with 1 attack, and then I'm still gonna do other attacks in between.
Or I'm gonna wipe out 2/5 or like 3/5 to 4/5 of your team, if you're not leveled up enough. Which when I went into the fight the first time, yeah, I was a little underleveled. Made it through that fight by the skin of my teeth. Big Bang is insane.
And he just uses it like every 30 seconds too.
Yeah.
Like it's a nonstop barrage of pain.
I think I got lucky and I killed that boss very quickly, and I didn't have many issues.
Wow.
He's such a cool boss though, because
Yeah.
He's a really cool boss, but Big Bang is bullcrap.
I remember the first time that I actually played that, like super young and going through it and like not knowing I had to use the crystal.
Oh. Yes.
I didn't read any of the story. I just hit the button and
He says use the crystal, and you're just like, what the fuck do I do?
and then it's
Like,
like,
yeah, thanks, whatever. Put it in my pocket.
I
Ha!
spam it up at the top of the screen. It's like, use the crystal, use the crystal, use the crystal. I was actually really tempted. I purposely made my inventory full to find out if it would force me to drop something.
Yeah, it does.
And yeah.
I just think it's funny. You're in the middle. You're in this heated final moment, and you're just
I
like,
was
take the
thinking
crystal,
that.
and you're like,
You're like, hold on, I guess I don't need
shit.
these 2
Yeah,
potions.
what can I drop?
I don't know. I don't have any other way to heal right now. I mean, Rose is dead.
And I only have 48 inventory spaces because it's the PSP version.
That's in the GBA version as well.
Why? At least the potions stack, unlike Final Fantasy 2, where they don't
Yeah.
stack. I just think it's fun, and that's like, all right, here we go. And then you just do what he said. It's like, okay, I'm gonna forget to use that now. All right, let's go.
You throw the item away, and then you're just like, all right, let's go. And he's like, wait, the crystal.
It's pretty funny. How'd you get? So you fared well. How did you fare against him?
I
Slack.
think I won on my first attempt. Yeah, I did, but it was down to the closest thing possible. I think I had one character up at one point after Big Bang. I either had one character or one character with about 100 HP and another with sub 10 HP or something. And I was like, well, we just managed to scrape by there. Let's recover this. Let's have Edge throw every weapon in my inventory just to make sure I'm getting out the damage that I can. I threw Excalibur. I said, screw it. I don't need the Holy Sword anymore. Go away.
I'm not doing the extra dungeon. I don't need this fucking thing.
Well, I did, but I was like, it's just Excalibur.
I threw it all, and then at the end of the credits, it opens up the dungeon. I'm like, oh, did I actually need these weapons still? It was nice throwing Excalibur, seeing it for like 999. You're just like, yeah. Actually, I don't even think it hit.
No,
mine was like 7,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
7,000 or 8,000.
For me, what ended up happening is I beat it in one try, but Edge and I think Rosa were. No, I'm sorry. Edge and what's her face? Who's the summoner?
Rydia.
Rydia. There you go. They were dead the entire time. They could not survive Big Bang long enough because I was only level 41, I think, 41 or 42 when I beat him.
How did anybody survive through that then?
Yeah, it was only 3 party members could survive, and I had to full heal them between every Big Bang, or it was a death. So I spent about 20 minutes just spamming, and the turn that Rosa ran out of MP is the turn that I ended up winning. So I had elixirs handy, but I didn't realize I was out of MP, and I needed another character to do it, and I had already executed the attacks, and it just took like 20 minutes of hitting him for like 1,200. Like I just every turn 1,200, and eventually he fell down, thankfully, and I didn't have to rewatch that entire cinematic experience, because if you die, you're gonna have to go through the automated battle against Zemus, all the cutscenes from everyone cheering for you. It's a really long thing to have to sit through again.
I think you're missing the main thing here, and it's having to go through the room before Zemus's room with all of the heads and Zeramus' shadow, and you're just like, no, and you just want to spam
Run
your way
away,
out
run
of
away.
them.
That did
Yeah.
get annoying. Someone in my chat pointed this out as well. It feels like the best strategy in this game, aside from auto battle, is
Just
to
to run.
run away.
Yeah. I did a lot of running in the final dungeon. There's just no point
Yeah.
in fighting a lot of these enemy types. I didn't see a reason to. So you tried the optional Slack. I don't think you did, Morag, right? You didn't do the
I haven't
optional.
yet. No, I'm probably gonna go back and do it later.
Yeah, we have plenty of time to do so now. Did you get to Proto Babel?
This version doesn't have that stuff. This is just the Lunar Trial.
Oh, it's just the Lunar.
The
Okay.
Zeramus EG fight, yeah.
Okay.
I finished all that stuff. I beat Zeramus EG because you use the Grimoires on him, and then he literally does nothing while you pound on him. The Zeramus, that part's disappointing. Even without using those on him, I believe he's actually easier than the
Zeramus himself.
Zeramus.
Well, so if I remember the story for Zeramus EG, it's actually the EG stands for easy game.
Game, yeah.
Yeah. He was it's actually the Zeramus from the remade version in Japan, which was also called, it's like Final Fantasy IV Easy Game
Easy
or something.
type.
Yeah, Easy Type. Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is which honestly, the fact that they needed an easier version, it blows my fucking mind after playing this. Like, I don't know how it gets any easier, but apparently it
this
does.
version was probably in between the easy
Yeah.
type and hard type. If I had to guess. I've actually played through the hard type on Super Nintendo. I'd like a fan translation of it, and it was okay. I mean, I don't remember it being that much harder, honestly. The whole dungeon, though, oh man, there are some really cool trials in there. So what the trials are for the bonus dungeon is that each character, every single character, this was only introduced in the GBA versions and on,
Yeah.
and it takes advantage of the new characters that you can put back in your party: Yang, Palamporam, Sid, and Edward. And then the original 5 also have trials down there that they get to go through. Every character's trial is specific towards them. So Yang's trial involves you fighting an army of monks. You fight about 60 monks in a row. One fight after another, after another, after another, after another. You fight like these big they're groups. There are 8 units in the fight, and then each unit has 3 monks in it. So there are 24 enemies on the screen that you're beating the crap out of. And then you go through this. This is the whole thing. You just fight them, and then you fight more monks, and then you fight more monks, and then you fight more monks. And then Lunar Titan is like, "You're pretty cool. Now fight me." And then you have Float on, and you just go, "What are you doing, Titan? Come on."
Everybody loves Float.
That trial sucks. Then there are some really cool ones, but I'm having trouble remembering them right now.
Sounds like you just really liked Yang's.
No, oh yeah, I loved Yang's.
You sound about as enthused as Morag did when he's talking about Chronodia.
Yeah,
About as enthused.
He got mad at Chronodia. I just got tired of this because you kill each of these waves the exact same way. You just wait for Rydia to summon Bahamut or cast Meteor. Thrilling gameplay over and over.
But
Anyway.
that's like most stuff, though. It's just if you really want to break it down to that, it just comes down. Don't use those abilities if you feel they're too hard.
Well, no, it's just boring. It's not that it was hard. It's just that it was like, oh my god, this fight's taking forever. Because you're sitting through these 8 guys attacking you constantly. It's really annoying.
That would get annoying, yeah.
The Lunar Odin fight, Maidson mentioned that in my chat. Lunar Odin is insane. He does some Tetsukin. It's kind of a big bang attack where it's just going to wipe out most of your party all the time. This was another time where I think I survived with one person at critical HP, and I beat it on my first try, just barely. Just barely.
Barely.
It. And then, all right, Edge's trial is like the worst thing that's ever been done in a video game.
After what he said about Chronodia, are you really going to say that?
Oh, this is much worse.
Oh, my.
I would much rather have done Chronodia than this nonsense.
You're trying to actually step one cell every single time.
I would have preferred doing that.
That's not as bad.
No.
Okay, I got
Edge's trial is a ninja's castle, and what happens is you go up there. It starts off with there being these wrong buttons to push, and if you press the wrong button, you get into a fight. If you press the right button, a door opens up, and then you go to another one of the same thing, except now there's 3 buttons with 1 right button. So you get through that. You go up these stairs. A king sends you down into a pit, and then you go through those same doors again. You go up these stairs. There's a firewall. You bust through a wall to your right, and then it just turns into this giant trial and error puzzle where if you go into the wrong door, if you move in the wrong direction, you reset and you get moved back to the beginning of the puzzle.
Wait.
Well, you are a ninja.
The very, very, very beginning,
Basically,
or just of that room.
you don't have to almost the beginning. There are ways to open shortcuts as you progress. This still took me I think an hour to an hour and a half just for this trial.
Actually, I'm looking
was
forward
so
to this
bad.
now because it still does not sound as bad as moving one cell in a 3-cell block with everyone else. So no, this sounds easy. I'd much rather.
It's easy. It's not that it's hard. It's that it's annoying. It's dumb. It's just stupidly designed.
Go play Chronodia then, damn it.
Chronodia could be its own game.
PSP version. Anyway.
You have time.
Yeah, you got plenty of time. You got plenty of time.
Lunar Trials was a really great idea. I love the idea of these trials designed for individual characters. I just wished that the trials themselves were actually well designed. Because I'm trying to think of the good ones now. As let me try to run down the list of characters. Edward's was okay. Cecil's was dumb. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just do paladin things, give this guy his money back, and help this lady get her chocobos and stuff like that. The first Rydia's was boring. Walk around, fight things. Edges sucked. Rosa's was pretty bad. Rosa's was just a trial and error thing where you go through, you're supposed to cure the right people, but some people are monsters. And if you heal them, you get into a fight with them. And then
so they're zombies.
And it's timed. It's timed. So if you heal too many monsters, you're going to lose out on finishing it and getting the best thing. And I don't know. There's some good ones in there, but I don't remember them right now.
I'm being told Kane's is the best. It's a murder mystery.
Kane's is terrible because it's just talk to the right NPC and then advance the story. If it weren't for that, if there was something more interesting with it, then it would be fine.
It sounds like Kane is Batman.
Sort of, and then he's like jumping from roof to roof and stuff. You know, it happens. It's what Dragoons do. At the end of his thing, you go through this 20 or 30-minute murder mystery, and then Dark Bahamut comes out and is like, kill Cecil! And the answer, your response defaults to yes. And if you hit yes, you have to do the whole thing again. And then if you hit no, you have to fight Dark Bahamut with only Kane.
Lots of jumping. Lots of really.
Yeah, you just jump over and over again.
Jumping over and over and over.
Easy.
It sounds really fun on the broken PSP or GBA version too.
Yeah.
When it's only him in the party, it doesn't get as screwed up. It's when everybody else's turns are coming up, it makes the system get weird.
Okay.
All right, so having heard that, great, I decided not to do it. Conclusion for Final Fantasy IV. So, would you say the game still holds up to the incredible praise it receives as a highlight of the series?
I can see why they went and made a 3D version of it and made it as like the.
Did you know Final Fantasy IV is the single most ported Final Fantasy game in existence?
Yep.
I think it has 12 different ports.
Wonder Swan.
Yeah. So that is definitely, they've remade this game more than any other Final Fantasy, and that kind of speaks to its power. Would you recommend we play After Years? Having said it all, Slack.
Without getting to the final stuff, it's really hard to say. So far, it's worth a play.
I spoiled myself a little bit just to see how like if there was any unique mechanics, especially in that last dungeon. And boy, there's a pretty cool end boss that I want to just fight.
There's some really, really cool stuff that happens in like the bonus dungeons. Like there's challenge dungeons. Don't do the chapter challenge dungeons for the individual characters. Those are terrible. It does introduce new characters, which bring new abilities to the table. And it also introduces a new mechanic in bands. And the bands are basically dual or triple or quad or quintuple techs, very similar to what Chrono Trigger does. So you'll have two characters, and they do a specific ability together, and it creates a combo attack that does different effects depending on what the band is.
I Am Setsuna did that too. Made the game really easy. I Am Setsuna did that too. Made the game really easy.
Setsuna had so many problems. I don't want to even get into that one.
You guys gonna replay? You guys gonna replay 4 anytime soon? Yeah.
I think so far I would say it's worth a playthrough at least once.
Okay.
And then the final dungeon, the reason I want to play through it is the final dungeon it's all this extra content, sort of like the original final dungeon of Final Fantasy IV. You get all these extra boss fights where you could fight them, and then you get something for a character afterwards. and it's like bosses from all across the series, just all over the place. And I'm looking forward to taking those on.
Quick little thing actually about the final dungeon. When I was a kid, I was going through looking at my Nintendo Power, and I saw there was a boss by the name of the Ogopogo in there.
Yes.
A little bit of some cool lore to that. Ogopogo is actually the name of the lake monster that is the lake that's right next to me. So, and that from the only thing I could find is like that's where Ogopogo originated from. So I don't know if that's how they end up naming it. I don't know.
Well, in case you don't remember who that boss is, it's a Leviathan reskin.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'd assume that that's exactly where they pulled it from, because I don't see where else they would pull it from.
My town is in the game.
Great, because Kingslay's not in your town. Anyway, so...
Oh, the other mechanic, another interesting mechanic that they introduced with After Years, there are phases of the moon where during different phases, there are 4 different phases, and you have 4 abilities that can be affected by this. You have your normal attack, you have white magic, black magic, and then you have abilities, things like throw, big throw from one of the new characters, stuff like that. And those get buffed up depending on the phase or get buffed down. So if you're going up against a boss that is hitting you with really heavy hitting black magic, you can make it so that black magic is a little bit weaker with a certain phase. Go back into the fight, just spam tense until you get to the right phase. Go into the fight and have an easier time. Sort of. It's not playing as big of a factor as I expected it to. Like, I'll notice a spell do 100 or 200 less damage, and I'm like, that's not making a big difference right now.
It does over 10 casts, though.
Yeah, it adds, sort of. But
Like,
not if
sort
I'm
of, that's
casting the
math.
same- but if I'm casting the same tier of cure every time, then it's not making a difference. Like, I'm not losing any extra HP or gaining any extra HP.
It's all about items, then. That's what it sounds like. Are you guys going to put this on your replay list for any time in the future?
I'd play through it again. It's just one of those games. I'll probably recommend it. Like, out of all the games so far, I'd recommend 4 out of...
Yeah,
one
out of all the ones we've played so far, this is definitely one of the better ones. I've replayed it God knows how many times already. I'll probably get the itch to play it again a few years down the line.
I actually kind of want to play the 3D version a little bit more.
One of these days, I want to do the Steam version, just to do it.
I've never been a big fan of that graphics engine, though.
It's got voice acting, too.
But I want to play with augments. It's completely a new way.
You guys saw your face slack when I said there's voice acting.
I don't know, the over sharpened look of low polygon it hurts me a little bit. For
Yeah,
just
it's not
such
the
a great
prettiest.
game like that had like prided itself on trying to create amazing art with limited amount of pixels, and here they purposely dumb it down because of hardware.
Meh. It was fun. I played through the 3D version. I've got a save file sitting there right before Protobabble. So maybe pick that one up again. All right, but now we get to talk about actually what I've quickly reminded myself is why it's so high on the list for me as a favorite is Final Fantasy V. That's the other game that we played in the last week. So, reminder to everyone of the platforms we played it on. I played the Steam version, Morag.
I've been playing the Super Nintendo, and I actually gave my chat a choice. We played through the Super Nintendo version, and we played the GBA version, even with the music fix, the audio fix, which barely does anything. It still screeches your ears.
The problem with it is that it breaks the game. It doesn't sound the greatest. It's a little iffy. Not to mention, it also completely wrecks the frame rate.
This one had the frame rate fix in it as well.
Mine was supposed to have the frame rate fix, but it didn't. It still ran at half speed, so that was annoying.
The biggest thing for me, chat still could hear like the actual GBA-ness to it, and they're like, yeah, no, we'd rather have like, subpar menus versus the best sounding music.
Yeah.
So,
I haven't gotten a chance to play 5 yet. I played through it 2 times earlier in the year already, when the 4-Job Fiesta started up. So it's very fresh in my mind still. I'm still playing through After Years right now. But
What version will you play then?
I'll be on the GBA version.
Okay.
I
The
like
better
the GBA
patch.
version for a lot of reasons. There's so much it changes and fixes. For example, being able to run at all times instead of needing to have a thief class. So that's kind of important, especially for a 4-Job Fiesta. Helps speed up the game quite a bit.
Super Nintendo version, I'm able to run whenever.
If you have a thief for the thief ability sprint.
No, I've been running.
Otherwise-
I just hold down L and R.
No, not
No, like out, but yeah, on the map.
Oh, you mean the dash? The
Yeah.
dashing. Yes, I
Yeah.
agree. The dashing It's like getting into the game and like, oh, I can't dash.
Oh, just wait till we talk about 6. I have a fucking bone to pick with sprint shoes.
Yeah, sprint shoes.
Man, I love the little cutscene in that. It's hilarious.
No.
The cutscene is
No.
cute,
Yes.
but the introduction of the sprint shoes.
No.
Thanks for making me walk fast or
Relics are
walk
awesome,
slow
man.
just so I can be
Yeah,
effective in that.
well,
Don't you crap on the relics.
Oh, just that one. Don't you worry. That's the only one. So Final Fantasy V, we talked about it a little bit back when we played 3, because Final Fantasy V is technically the second game to have a true job system where you have the set character list and you can just move between whatever jobs as you unlock them as you play the game. How did this game make you feel about the job system versus 3 in particular?
A lot better.
There's a
It's
reason
still
to
rough,
play,
but they have refined it a lot.
reason to play multiple classes, and they all felt like they were doing a half decent job. And even if you didn't like one, you could still take certain abilities from them over to one you really enjoyed.
Geomancer.
Not to mention, once you get all of the jobs, it doesn't feel like the last jobs you get are the best jobs necessarily.
Freelancer,
Every
please.
job can bring something to the table. Some of them are definitely not as good as others. Geomancer, but the Geomancer, they're awkward to use in that game.
They're awkward, but man, you can't tell me
Right,
you
it's
didn't
like-
go into that cave and beat up those fucking squirrels for AP. Geomancer's really good there.
Yeah, they're good there. They're good for farming. But aside from that, they're awkward. Beastmasters, also awkward to use. They're very, like, you have to look up a guide for some of these things. Like the Beastmasters, you need to know which things you're supposed to capture.
When you say Beastmaster, you mean the mediators? I think.
Yeah, they're called different things in different versions.
It's
In
like
the
it's
Super
basically
Nintendo one.
Pokemon. You have Pokemon. You have to go and weaken them. You have to capture them. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell to do with this now.
No, I didn't touch Beastmaster for that reason.
Yeah, yep. They're a very awkward class to use. I mean, all the classes have the things that they bring to the table, and then you can level up the classes, and then take some of those things to another class. You can take dual wielding from a ninja and put it on a knight, and walk around with 2 knight swords and just crush your enemies, see them driven before you.
Are they all Arnold Schwarzenegger? Is that what we
should
learned?
be?
No.
Dual wields.
Definitely. As soon as I got Berserker, I leveled everyone up so they could get Berserk as a sub. Easy farming.
Yeah.
Easy. Everyone just runs around with Berserk all the time. But Red Mage, to max out it, 999 AP needed for it. And you get
W magic.
Dual cast.
character.
Dual cast is one of those abilities where it's like, man, did they not realize how completely broken this was going to be?
No, they did. That's why they made it 999 to
I
grind out.
I think it's the only ability that takes maxed out AP to need to get it.
I feel like there's one more.
I think it's the only one. I think
I
dual
might be
cast.
thinking of the bonus classes in the
Because rapid fire is like 500, and that's I don't know about anything else.
Rapid fire is like 9 or 500. I think dual wield is around 400 or 500. Dual wield might be 999.
No, I got both dual wield and rapid fire fully unlocked for my freelancer. So
I think the next highest was like 540 if I remember correctly.
yeah, it's pretty intense. So with any jobs that you guys just loved, any OP combinations, you just like, I'm doing it. I don't care how long I got to grind. I am making my OP combos right here.
Anything with Brawl.
Monk's number one, sort of, in this game. At the end of the game, they're not the best. They doing 4-job fiestas. I didn't get monks on my playthroughs, but at the end of the game, monks are basically just item bitches. That's all they can do. They can't keep up with the damage that other people are putting out, but thanks to their huge HP pool, they can survive most any attack from the late game bosses. So they're the ones that are recovering your team from critical failure.
For me, I had 2 characters that I made ninjas with rapid fire dual wield for 8 times attacks every single turn. I love doing that every time. I don't care if rapid fire doesn't let you pick a target. I don't care. It's still 8 hits.
Mimic is the other a 99 ability.
That's a bonus class, though.
I haven't unlocked that.
I completely forgot about the Mimic being in the game because of the 4-job fiesta.
Yeah, you don't ever get to play Mimic because of 4-job fiesta. What about, did anyone go for the Spellblade? Because Spellblade is really like the OP that like absolutely annihilates everything.
Did you
I've been told a little bit about it.
I got on my 2 fiestas. I got Thief, Red Mage, Ninja, Samurai on my first one, and then my second one was Knight, Time Mage, Thief, Black Mage. Both party compositions pretty effective. It requires you to use some of the niche abilities, and at doing that final fight, I really wish I'd had Spellblade on one of those run-throughs. And you know why? Break Blade! You guaranteed one-shot one of the parts of that last boss.
It's ridiculous, yeah.
It's insane, yeah.
What about-
really, really wish I could have done that.
What about you, Morag?
I've honestly, so games like this are addicting to me because I just want to unlock everything. I want to unlock everything. I don't give a shit how I do it. I'm going to unlock everything, and I'm gonna ignore the rest of the game. And that's what I've been doing. And so I've just been unlocking everything and just seeing what really cool combos work. And it's sad because I want to go through again now and have limited amounts. This is why I can understand now why the 4-Job Fiesta is so popular, because without it, you are never going to find out the really, really cool combos.
You won't find out like the niche way that the game system itself works, because this is actually a really interesting game. We just played through 4, where if you go up to a boss, you're not going to be able to poison, stop, sleep, hold, do any kind of status effects to it. This game, however, introduces a lot of bosses that have a lot of weaknesses to take advantage of. Whether it's an extreme elemental weakness, which this game, it's kind of a cakewalk if you know how to take advantage of some of the elemental weaknesses, and you just break rods at enemies.
Oh yeah.
You can like 2-shot most bosses early on if you do rod breaking strats, or if you have a Beastmaster / Mediator, you can capture, I think, a yellow dragon, and then its lightning attack does like 9999 to everything. You just unleash that on a boss that's weak against lightning and one-shot it. It's like, good. I'm working very hard here.
Excellent.
Yeah. And then there are other bosses like one of the final bosses in the final dungeon. When he starts charging up his big attack. God, what's his name? You fight him. You're going up the stairs of the castle right before you actually enter the void.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I can't remember what he is.
Tiamat.
Yeah. Is it Tiamat? Maybe.
I'm sorry. Twintania.
Yes, Twintania, yeah. Okay. Normally, for most of the fight, she's not vulnerable to death. But here's a helpful tip for you, Morag, if you want to take advantage of this. But when she starts charging up her Giga Flare attack, then she becomes vulnerable to death. Not only that, but you can steal a different item from her during those 2 different phases.
That's really cool. It's like I definitely could tell, like in this game, there's an actual reason to do certain things to certain enemies, especially bosses. Like that, not every boss felt like they actually had a little bit of extra detail put into them. So then, depending on what classes you are using, they are stronger or weaker against it. And not making it so that it was almost to the point where you have to do it, but it's an option if you find it. And there's always ways to find out some of these things too in the game.
Yeah.
They don't make it extremely hidden. It's just like, I wonder if I could try this at this point in time. I wonder what would happen if I do this at this time. And then you find out, you're like, holy shit!
Yeah.
Like that's no other game has done that so far. 5 is the first one to do that.
So with that in mind, have you guys played Bravely Default or Bravely Second? Either of you?
I haven't finished it.
That's okay.
All right, what chapter are you in Bravely Default?
Don't worry, I already know those spoils.
Okay. I'm asking, are you at that chapter?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Oh, I wasn't there yet.
If you had made it that far, I could understand why you hadn't beaten it yet, because I actually took a break during those chapters, around chapter 6, for 7 months, maybe more.
I think I was around 4 or 5, but yeah.
Yeah.
But you know in general the game at least.
It utilizes a job system quite similar to Final Fantasy V's. You have a lot of different jobs that you can level here. Would you guys play more recent games that use this job system versus just replaying 5? Something that's a little bit more frequent and recent and polished.
I need to learn how to not play the game the way I am right now because I'm just addicted to unlocking all the stuff.
Well, I'm just gonna say we've got enough time with the count up extension. I think you should do a 4-job Fiesta.
Get a platinum trophy.
I'm probably gonna do a 4-job Fiesta now on maybe the Steam version.
Ooh,
maybe.
Man.
See what happens.
Is there a reason why you have to cover your face for that?
Because I said I didn't want to support it, but I don't like what they did to some of the sprites. I just don't like the laziness.
The character sprites are god awful, and then the changes to like the way that the grid system works, instead of being like 48 by 48. The pixels are changed, so it's like 47 by 47.
It just felt like a really lazy for trying to keep the original intact. They're like, no, let's put a filter on it. Let's do that and do this. We're gonna redo some of these sprites. But you know what? The one thing saving grace is, and the one thing that I wish some of these other games ended up having is the same. Whoever did all of the monster sprites from 1 remake, from 2 remake, and the 4 PSP remake, I swear they did it for 5 as well too, because those
are phenomenal.
Style of pixel art is just amazing, and I wish that more people I wish more people would praise that style of art. And it sucks because it looks like there's 3 styles of art in the game. There's the background, and then there's your characters, and then there's the monsters. So it doesn't mesh very well.
Yeah.
But it's just, they look amazing, and I just love monster sprites because they're so cool looking.
Yeah, I agree.
Between Bravely Default and Bravely Second and Final Fantasy V, I think I'd rather play 5 again, even though Bravely Default and Bravely Second do a lot to improve on the job system. In 5, what I don't like is you have abilities that are active and you have abilities that are passive. And I don't like, so for any job that you turn into, you've got your main job ability and then any sub ability. And that is any single ability in the game, whether it's an active or a passive ability. And I don't like having to have only one of those. I want to have an active and a passive ability. I want to be able to have a knight with summon magic that also has dual wield or something like that.
Yeah, that would be really nice.
Yeah.
1 active, 1 passive.
Yeah. Which they start introducing stuff like that. I guess they really start with tactics and then moving forward for the ATB or not ATB style system, the turn-based. They reintroduce it with Final Fantasy or Bravely Default, Bravely Second, where you get these passive abilities that are, I can't remember how they work in Bravely Default, but essentially as you master a class, you learn the same kind of things that you learn in 5, where you get HP plus 10%, but you equip it and it uses up augment slots or something. I think they are called augment slots.
You tell me, because I haven't played Default.
Okay. You get to equip passive abilities on there, and then you also have your active ability from another class as an ability. The thing is, gameplay-wise, I kind of feel like 5 has that beat out. Not to mention, I feel like as Bravely Default goes on, it kind of falls into that problem where, the later classes are quite a bit better.
Yeah, and after Final Fantasy 3, we all know how that made us feel.
Yeah. And then in 5, like I said, you can do a run where, with the 4 job Fiesta runs, you can have all these crazy different party combinations that you can make it through the game with no problem. And that's really appealing from a gameplay standpoint. Once you learn how to take advantage of the system, that's a lot of fun.
Well, speaking of the combat, you were mentioning the difference between how Bravely Default goes back to being turn-based, kind of truly turn-based.
Yeah.
So we don't really need to talk too much about 5's combat, I don't feel, as opposed to like when
I don't think it does anything different ATB-wise.
I don't think so either. I mean, it still has wait mode, it still has active mode. If you guys have something to add for it versus Final Fantasy 4, I'm willing to hear it out, but I don't think there's really anything different here. I think at this point, this system will continue to be consistent all the way until 10, which will be when we have to kind of go back to talking about why they switched back to turn-based and the improvements they made to turn-based with 10.
Yeah, specifically just ATB-wise, I can't think of anything. In this version, you break rods instead of using them to cast spells. That's as close as I can get to a big battle system change.
Yeah, no, just
That's
ATB.
because breaking rods is important in the 4-job Fiesta.
I think they just ended up trying to focus on more gameplay, and then they found that ATB was working really well with 4. They're like, let's go with it. But let's just do everything. Let's redo bosses. Let's redo how you progress with your character. And again, this is like something like they found something that worked, and they're running with it now. And as we'll see with 6.
Yeah, we'll see a lot of that with 6. And speaking of things that they figure out that work, that they run with, Final Fantasy V's story. For me, it sparked some beloved memes and ideas that kind of remain consistent throughout the rest of the series, and 6 will do the same. I mean, you have Xdeath and his tree obsession, which everybody loves talking about, how Xdeath loves trees. We have
it's not just that he loves tree, he is a tree.
He is a tree. He is a tree, or becomes one. You have the introduction of Gilgamesh, who is one of the most beloved characters, one of the most iconic characters of all time.
I just got through that sequence, and I gotta say that was probably one of the coolest things that I've seen in a Final Fantasy game so far. Just that whole sequence of like you running down the bridge, killing the mobs. It like as we haven't seen anything.
The music.
The music is amazing, well placed, everything, and it was really well done.
Some other memes, you have Bartz versus Butts, whichever you want to call him. I actually he's actually the only character you get to rename in all of 5, and my chat voted on renaming him Butts from Bartz.
My channel, so we've been doing subs have been choosing names, and they want to name Forehead, but in the Super Nintendo there is no number 4, so his name is IV Head.
IV Head. Well, Roman numerals.
That's frightening.
It is, especially when I'm going into this saying Forehead or IV Head whenever they're speaking.
Yeah. You also have Shinryu and Omega, which are introduced. They're, along with Gilgamesh, characters that are considered canon throughout other Final Fantasy games, and they have an immense amount of backstory to support that. They also have the Ancient Mage who tried to control the Void 1,000 years ago, which is hinted at in the original version and then made a boss in the later versions. And Nuo would be his name.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, and Nuo. And it's just things like that. It's just between that and the job system. 5 is known for kind of creating a lot of trends in Final Fantasy. How would you stack it up against 4 and its predecessors story-wise?
Huge downgrade story-wise.
A little, quite a bit more basic so far.
It's very... this game isn't beloved for its story, it's beloved for the job system and the great gameplay.
And butts.
And butts. Everybody loves the butts.
Everybody loves the butts.
Actually, it's
like overall, it goes back to being silly, which 4 is silly, but it's very dramatic. But the drama of 5, it just feels goofy.
There's a lot more comedic relief.
Actually, I was gonna say, and because this comes up, there's a bunch of like really serious topics that come up in 5. At least the fan translation end up doing. You know, like the difference of Ferris pretending to be a guy, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Wait, you're a female?" So there was that. Finding out about how Butts's family, like how his mom ends up dying, and like just him having to go through that, and it's interesting to like getting into these really deep rooted issues. Having a sister that you have no idea who they are, and they're confused at how they should be around each other. Then at that point, it's interesting because you don't tend to see some of these themes in any other game. Like even TV shows don't even want to bring them up. They usually side them with comedy. These they try and they dive into it a little bit more. Until
the remakes, where they're completely drawn in by comedy, minus Butts' mother, which is still considered a darker topic overall. I personally, 5 was always one of my favorites because of the trend setting that it did between that and the job system. I always remember. One thing I never forget is Battle at Big Bridge. One thing I never forget is Gilgamesh's morphing time. One thing I never forget are some of the amazing tracks that come out of the game. Some of the bosses that you end up fighting. There's a lot more that I actually love about 5 than 4, where I love the story, but it felt like it was missing other things like that I really enjoyed about its world, or that stood out to me kind of, other than a dickish last boss.
Right.
Really dickish.
If they go back and they try to remake this game, you're going to have a hell of a hard time doing it, because trying to find a way to balance the job system that they have right now without just copy pasting it and trying to make some classes feel a little bit better, like Mediator, would be difficult. With trying to find a way to make the story work a little bit better, like they would have to have some dedicated teams to make it. Like I think that they'd be better off remaking 6, because 6 already is kind of everything's already laid out. They just got to find a way to do art on it. But with 5, there's some major system changes that they'd end up having to do to how you progress as characters.
What about X-Death? How do you guys feel about X-Death versus Zeramis as a villain?
I don't know him enough yet, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So where are you in the story right now, Morag?
I just finished Battle of the Big Bridge.
Okay.
You got a ways to go.
I don't know if you'll finish it today.
I'm going crazy today with it.
Okay. That's going to be probably, especially for first time, 10 or 15 hours. Oh, God, no. Oh, man, if you're doing World 3 and you're wanting to max out, like you've been talking about.
I might have already grinded up to like level 55 and like have 4 or 5 characters.
Jesus fucking Christ.
All right, what he said, and also there's still a lot of stuff to do in World 3.
Yeah,
like
no, I looked it up a little bit just to find out, so
Okay.
we'll see what happens.
Yep, good luck.
Yeah.
It'll probably
Best of
be a
luck.
15-hour cast then, so we should move along
Don't
for
worry,
your
don't
sake.
Get it? 15-hour cast? Final Fantasy 15 delayed. Cast is delayed. It makes perfect sense. There you go.
It all adds up. It was a sign. We should
was
have
a
known.
sign.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about Xdeath versus Zeramis.
Well, all right. So he is literally a tree. What starts off?
I haven't seen his tree version
He
yet.
doesn't
I've seen him going through crystals around.
He also doesn't like. It's weird to find out his backstory. Like, it's not touched on that much in the game. What happens is that I think a bunch of monster blood or monster souls go into a river. This sounds like the start of a joke, and it kind of is. And then that river feeds into a tree, and that tree absorbs all those souls, and that tree becomes Xdeath. It absorbs those evil monster souls, becomes sentient, and then is like, I hate the world.
Have you seen the Dragon Ball Z movie with what's his face, the fat Janemba? It's kind of like that. Where he just kind of, it's just like culminated evil over 1,000 years that takes a physical form and hates everything and wants to control the void.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't even want to take over the world. He wants to return it to nothing.
He wants to destroy it. He wants it to be nothing.
Yeah.
Well, the whole theme, from what I feel so far, is the void.
Yeah.
And that's because they're pulling that in from even Final Fantasy III. Like, Dark Cloud was all about the void.
Yeah. The void is a consistent theme that, once again, 3 and 5 share. Both games with the job system, both games with the void theme, and the void will actually become canon after Final Fantasy V as a space between worlds, between Final Fantasy worlds, in which that you can travel between them, which is how Gilgamesh and Omega and Shinryu will eventually become canon in all the other games they appear. So it's very powerful. How do I call it? Cop out for a lot of things. Eventually later. But versus Zeramis,
Final Fantasy 14 use the void.
yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes, they do. Even 11 eventually uses the void, and Gilgamesh is kind of given a really shitty role in 11 for a very long time, and then they eventually make him part of the Abyssi series, which is basically considered the void, and he's very important when it comes to that. So, but specifically versus Zeramis, because Zeramis is literally like, there's some dark force that's controlling my actions. Oh, it's this guy. He's really angry, by the way.
Yeah, at least Xdeath is around in this story.
Yeah.
He doesn't just pop up and go, by the way, I'm a dick. He's like, he's constantly antagonizing you, poking you in the eye and going, hey, remember me? I'm still a dick. You like that? I bet you don't.
Does that make him a better or worse villain than Zeramis?
He was the thorn in your back that you just always just wanted to keep.
Literally, get it? Because he's a tree. Ah!
Not to mention things that happen later, but you'll find out about that. Don't worry, Morag.
Yeah.
You chose a very good way of describing him. I'm so distracted by how well that worked, I can't even think now. Better or worse villain? Probably a worse villain. I don't know. Him being around throughout the whole game works really well. Even technically, it's kind of Final Fantasy VII-esque, where Zeromus is controlling Golbez this whole time, and he's making him go out and do all these bad things. But it doesn't feel like he's getting anywhere. I'm never threatened by Zeromus.
Yeah. I feel the same way. Like, you're not threatened until you're standing right in front of him.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And at that point, it's like,
you see him shaking, getting ready to drop Big Bang on you. Then you get pretty scared.
We'll talk about Xdeath too, because
I always liked the fact, like, once you actually get to Moonbase in 4, and you go to the crystal room, and they're like, where are the crystals of the moon? And then there's, like, the warp in the center. They're like, Zeramus is in here, but we can't get in. Like, I always liked that feeling, knowing that he was right there and you couldn't touch him.
yeah.
Like, that I always enjoyed.
I just like Xdeath for the fact that you're literally trying. Well, I like it and I don't like it. He's got all the tools he needs to actually just destroy everything, and he just kind of goes, yeah, I'll do some now, I'll do some later, whatever. Just like little by little, I'll absorb the world into the void.
Sounds like Caius. My goodness.
Also, Xdeath's design.
It's fantastic.
Really, really cool. Just wait until you fight him in his castle soon, Morag.
Yeah.
Really cool boss.
Xdeath has a lot of advantages when it comes to that. Is there any part of his story you found uninteresting, Xdeath?
I mean,
Don't say that. Don't say he's... I knew you were going to say that. Why can't he be a tree? What's wrong with that?
Because it's ridiculous. In a game
It's a fantasy game.
This takes the cake. That's a new level of wait, what?
Well, you know how everyone always go, oh man, that tree doesn't know what I'm doing. It's like, no, that tree. Everyone's like, that tree is alive. In this case, yes, the tree is really alive, and it's got a sword.
Is pissed.
Yeah, and he was sealed away in your world by your father, who's an asshole for putting him in. Well, he's an asshole, and then he knocks your mother up, and then everything just goes wrong.
You guys are just making me think now that he's gonna turn into like the Whomping Willow from Harry Potter.
Everybody
start whipping everyone.
Everybody says bring Kirby along. He knows how to fight trees. Like, there's a lot of Kirby jokes when I was playing through as we had to talk about
see this now.
Yeah. Just wait till you see his second to last boss character sprite. It's interesting looking, to say the least.
Fair enough.
And
Okay.
then the very last one feels very Kefka.
Yeah, it does. Which I'll have a lot to say next week, having finished. I already finished 6 while we're talking about this. I'm almost done with disc 1 and 7. So I'm sorry. I'm a little bit ahead.
You could slow down now with the
No.
countdown being all right. So much for that. I tried, everybody.
Nope. Okay, so now we actually get to talk through progressing through the game, because with the job system, we touch on it, so we don't have to touch on it too much more. You do unlock new jobs, and you're sort of encouraged to level them, but it's not as forced as Final Fantasy 3, where it's like, hey, that next boss, jump is really good against it. Yeah, to elbow him in the ribs.
Ow, okay, I get it.
I get it. You say, all right, items, I can scan them with Scholar. I get it. All right, Jesus Christ. Did you like the freedom more of this? Would you embrace the freedom more in this, where you just do whatever you want,
Absolutely,
not just because it's
I
new?
love the freedom. That's the entire point of a job system, as far as I'm concerned, is choices. And choices that aren't necessarily wrong. Being able to make choices that aren't defeatist.
Yeah, essentially. It's like, oh, well, I'm screwed for the rest of the game. Oh, man. Was there any point where you just had to stop? But like you saying, no, I will not do this next boss without this tool at my disposal.
In a 4-job Fiesta, yes, there is a point. I got Thief as my first job on my first crystal, and you cannot get through the mountain pass fight against Magissa and her boyfriend.
Yeah, being the one that you can silence one, sleep the other, essentially.
Yeah. As a thief, you can't get through that without cheesing it with levels. I grinded up to like level 14. Oh, it was not fun.
Meanwhile, Morag's like, all right, I'm just gonna type something while.
I'm sorry. No. You remember how you asked about a GIF?
Yeah, we've got that.
Yes. Thank
Perfect.
you. It's so rare that I ask for something and I receive it.
I know. That's got to be a nice feeling. $1 million. $1 million. Anybody out there?
What is this, Friends? The first episode of Friends? See? I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you for sending that to me, Morag.
Reference.
And I only know that because Mel made me watch something with Friends a while ago. That is a great GIF, by the way. That is a great GIF. Thank you, whoever made that. I'm going to share it in my chat for anyone who missed it earlier in the show.
Making it.
Thank you so much. There. That's a Slackaholicus GIF. That is just fantastic.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Use it on Twitter freely. Like when this happens, and tweet it at Slack so he knows that you used it. All right.
That's like the random GIF that you end up using, like when you end up reading the tweet above you.
Yeah, when you end up reading, when the tweet above yours is somebody retweeting your tweet.
Oh God. Oh God.
Okay.
Other points where I had to grind. I'm looking at my classes here. I think my first playthrough, that was the major time that I did some grinding. Samurai. No, I probably leveled up a little bit for the last fight. And then because I wanted to, on my second run through, I grinded up movers in the final area.
I skipped every fucking mover fight. I was like, I'm not doing this because, yeah.
They're super weak to fire, and I had
Yeah.
a time mage and a black mage. So I was just like, all right, fire 3 on all of them. Done. That was easy.
Yeah. I knew how to beat them, but I was like, I ran from every fight, almost every fight in the last dungeon. So something very similar to 4. How'd you
There's
find
a way to trigger force mover fights. in
Yeah,
the
I know.
version. Yeah,
I remember.
Which is why I was like, yes, please.
Bastard. How did you guys find the difficulty of 5 after playing through the incredibly easy 4?
Actually, one thing I've noticed so far is it does require you to stop sometimes and grind out some stuff, possibly if you don't know the game. Like for me, like seeing how some of the stuff has worked, it's like if I didn't grind, how the hell would have this fight went? Like how much would have I had to try and like keep repeating the ball?
Oh, I got words for you when we get to talk a little bit later. I got words for you about X Death later.
World 2 X Death fight.
How about the final X Death? I can't wait to tell you what level I was in the final X Death fight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I will talk about that later.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I so far I don't know how I would have done it if I did go through. That's why I'm looking forward to now that we have the extra time to doing a 4 Fiesta possibly. Or playing a little bit more, like I might ask my chat maybe to limit just like what classes do I have to use. I don't know, we'll see what happens.
What about, did either of you attempt Omega and Shinryu?
Oh, I attempted them on both of my playthroughs.
Yeah, attempt is a very loose word based on the way that you're describing it.
Yeah, in the GBA version, what sucks is that, let me see if I'm remembering all this right. In the Super Nintendo version, you can land stop on him from a black mage.
Yes, that is the number one
strat. In the
strat.
version, he has huge spell evasion, which makes it almost impossible to land stop on him. So the only major weakness is gone. There's also like the lightning damage and stuff, but without grinding levels on the 4 Fiestas, it's not going to happen. My first playthrough, I had Thief, Red Mage, Ninja, Samurai. I didn't have anything that could use stop on him. My second playthrough, which was on GBA this time, first was on SNES, second was GBA, I had Knight, Time Mage, Thief, Black Mage. So I had that opportunity to stop him, and I was like, that's it. I'm going to get my revenge. I'm going to go in there and beat up that dumb robot. And then I casted stop on him.
Miss.
Oh,
and then you get rocket punched to the face. I'd also like to point out in the Steam version of 5, if you get hit by 2 rocket punches back to back, it does not cancel the confusion out. And it takes half your health every time you get hit by a rocket punch. So you need there's only I think 2 or 3 items in the whole game that prevent confusion, and you have 4 party members. So however you get the confusion countering items is not easy to come by.
Yeah.
So, and you specifically need those, but on top of that, you already need fire rings in order to ensure you can survive or heal off of atomic ray. So it becomes a pretty big nightmare to face him eventually. And then Shinryu, of course, starts the fight with an instant 10,000 damage if you don't have water rings.
You need to have the coral rings equipped for that.
Yeah.
I did beat Shinryu on both of my playthroughs, however.
Okay.
Very different strategies. My first one involved ninjas have the image ability.
Yes.
So I equipped image on everybody and then got a berserk proc on him from a power staff, I think, on my red mage.
And then he only physically attacks, yeah.
Attacks. And with image up, he can't hit anybody. So it's just a matter of time until you kill him and making sure you refresh the image. For my second playthrough, I had a Nighttime Mage Thief Black Mage, and in that one, I used a Knight for cover strats, but I don't remember what it was that I used to make him almost invincible.
I'm not sure because Omega does not fuck around. It's very hard to negate everything.
Yeah.
You need float, you need fire rings, and then you still need to survive a few of his other attacks, like rocket punch and.
Yeah, Shinryu is very cheesable compared to Omega. Omega's just a big middle finger fight.
Yeah, pretty much. That's how I felt. What about you? Did you take on Omega, Morag, or will you take on Omega? I guess.
I don't know. We'll see what.
Will you take him on?
We'll see what happens when I get there. Right now, I have no idea.
Hopefully you'll take some of the things we've said here and remember them when you find these items throughout the game.
I'm listening. I'm trying to.
Fire ring, coral ring, please. Coral rings!
Since I've been getting so much money from grinding, I've been making sure I get 4 of every item I find in every shop.
You're going to need a lot of gil to
Not
get
to
4
mention
fire rings, 4 coral rings.
I mentioned Twintania earlier. You want coral rings against her, too. But then again, you're high enough level, Morag, that might not...
Yeah, you're going to blow through the bosses. It's just Omega and Shinryu. Yeah. You're higher level than I've ever been on any playthrough of Final Fantasy V, and you're at fucking Battle at Big Bridge. Just put that into perspective right there.
It says 60 hours played already on my file.
You're sick. You're sick.
Wow.
There's also the optional dungeon that you unlock in the later versions. It's called the question mark castle or something like that. I forget what the official name is, Ancient Castle or something like that. But I know in my version, it's just called question mark something. And that has Neo Omega, Neo Shinryu, Enuo, a lot of other stupidly strong bosses, even if they have low hit points. Are any of us taking that castle on? No, Slack?
Yep.
Throwing in the
I'll
towel
be
on
doing
that
another 4-job Fiesta when I get around to 5. And sticking with the rules of the Fiesta, unless I pull a Beastmaster, you literally can't finish that dungeon. One of the requirements to advance in there at some point, someone is like, hey, capture a behemoth and bring it to me.
Yeah.
And if you don't have Beastmaster, you can't do that.
Yep. Oh man, great times. What about you? Morag? You're gonna and keep in mind, you might be level 50. This dungeon will still fuck you up if you don't know what you're doing.
Like, I'm playing the Super Nintendo version right now.
Oh, you don't have it then.
So, like, if
Sad
I end up
face.
doing 4-job Fiesta afterwards, we'll see what happens. Like,
Okay.
I'm still at the point where I don't even know how the later half of the game even works, how anything is. Like, it's brand new to me. This is the one game I've been looking forward to playing the most out of everything so far in the series. So this is the one I'm most blind to as well, too.
I feel like we're spoiling you.
Okay, don't worry.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
swallow myself a bit.
Yeah, that's considering you're level fucking 52. Yeah, you kind of. Okay. Yeah. I mean, all of this keep in mind. Final Fantasy V is actually the first game to, without a remake, introduce super bosses as a theme. Unless you want to consider Warmech or like the side summons from the earlier games, like Bahamut and Leviathan. There are no official
Okay, I
super
see what you mean.
bosses.
I was like, but
Like,
we just mentioned the bonus dungeon. You mean
well, yeah.
bosses coming back, yeah.
Yeah, and keep in mind, like, bonus dungeons are for the majority in remakes. Like, the 4 remake has the bonus dungeon, the 3 remake has the bonus.
I see what you mean.
But their initial releases, the closest thing you have to super bosses are the Warmech in 1,
Yeah.
and, like, Leviathan and Bahamut in 4. Like, those are the only things that you could consider super bosses.
3
And they're
had
not-
Iron Giant, didn't it?
but only in the remakes.
Okay, all right.
Iron Giant is a remake exclusive. The PSP DS versions are all there. 5's original version has Omega and Shinryu. They are the 2 super bosses of the game. Do we like super bosses as a theme? Do you guys
God,
like?
yes. God, yes.
They give extra playability to the game. Like, why are you going to grind to 99, and why do you want to go and fight more things? Like,
I don't know, but I did it in Final Fantasy VI multiple times anyway, even though there was
Yeah, and
on
six doesn't have. 6 has super bosses, but it's more like they are in 4 and 3
but-
and whatnot.
But even if you look at, say, like super bosses from Final Fantasy VIII, but that's more of like, how do you end up beating some of these bosses with the current system too? It's more of a puzzle with how you beat them up. But it's interesting, like, either pure stat wise, how do you beat them up, or even if you take a look at Final Fantasy VII super bosses as well too, that's pure stats aren't going to get you to beat some of those bosses.
You want to know something funny? My chat just brought up. So Slack, only you're gonna understand this. The final sequence with Gilgamesh, I killed him before the thing happened.
What happens at that? Do you have to beat Necro normally, or?
I don't know. I just restarted because
Oh.
I didn't want to take a chance. I didn't know what was supposed to happen there.
All
I
right.
know that you don't receive the Sword of Legend though.
Actually, if you can make that sequence not happen.
Yeah,
Period. If
I-
you skip the chest in the castle in World 2.
yeah. But I killed him by accident. I literally murdered him before the sequence could play out.
Did you swing at him 16 times? With the
I
second-
may have rapid fired him a handful of times, about 20 times in a row before he got a chance. So that might have something to do with it. But yeah, I think super bosses, literally, if you have a Final Fantasy game without a super boss nowadays, it's like, what the fuck did you develop this game
What's the
for?
point even? Why even have it?
Yeah, why the fuck even play this game?
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons I am looking forward to 15 so much. I expect quite a few bonus super boss stuff, maybe even a big bonus dungeon, because of how much they've talked about how big and open this world is. That
And
to
they've
me says tons of
shown
side
some
content.
footage, some very short footage of fighting the Adamantoise, which you can fight. You're about the size of its eyeball. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Well, if it's anything, what they've shown, what they did with 12, or even what they try to do with 13. Actually, 13, when we get there, I'll talk about my most disappointing thing about 13.
You're gonna have to be very careful with that list because you're gonna open up a can of worms with that
Only
one.
one thing
Okay,
that I'm
wait.
disappointed with 13. Only one, and when we get to that, I'll talk about it there. But
Okay.
if anything happens with 15, with what I've seen so far, they're gonna fix that instantaneously, and I hope they make this really cool multi-layer awesomeness boss that you're gonna be able to have to fight.
I'm looking forward to that as well. All right, so backing off of stuff, we've been talking about optional bosses. We have one big fucking asshole to talk about right now, X-Death. Now, Morag You're gonna
He's
learn.
a cool dude. So
You're
far.
gonna learn a little bit about the world's most annoying tree of all time right now. So, without looking at the show notes, Slack, what level do you think I was when I took on Xdeath? And I want to point out, this is the highest level I've ever been taking on. I'm sorry, this is the lowest level I've ever been. The highest
Lowest
I've.
level.
This is the lowest level I've ever
I
been.
will say about 36.
37. I was
37.
30. I had average level was 37 because I had 2 level 36s, a level 38, and 2 level 37s.
So I'm already almost double your level.
And let me tell you that that makes this boss a hell of a lot more interesting when you're level 37, because things like rapid fire are not useful on this boss. By the way, things like Spellblade and Toolcast are fantastic. Rapid fire is garbage on this last fight.
Now, don't take advantage of this, Morag, but there is a way to actually kill. You can hear this. All right, or not. All right, whatever. Fine. You know what? So there's a way to kill the tree form in the Super Nintendo version so that it doesn't trigger the second fight.
Yes, there is. But I can't do that in my version, so...
Yeah, me neither.
Everyone was telling me about it. It's like, can you do that in this version? And I was like, no. No. You're safe. You're safe, Morag.
Okay. I didn't want to hear.
Although I will say this, Morag, not spoiler. Play through the last boss twice and research why.
Okay.
Fight the last boss twice, because I guarantee your stream will enjoy watching it.
No, fair enough. Because I'm gonna go in just completely blind, and my chat's been really good. They haven't been telling me. They've only been telling me stuff like mid-fight, not how to.
Oh, when you get to Xdeath, your chat is probably going to try to tell you about the thing that Slack just mentioned that you couldn't hear.
I will slap you down, chat.
You're going to want to do it though when you find out what it is. And knowing you, you'll probably look it up before you even get there, because
I try and hold off. Like, one thing I do is I don't look at boss strats. I'll look at what is coming up for bosses and little stuff to prep for, but not actual how is the easiest way to kill them. I hate it's like it's like looking at a review and just looking for all of like the point bullets of a review. It's the dumbest thing.
Then after you beat him, if your chat doesn't try to tell you, look up the easiest way to beat Xdeath.
Although I definitely will.
And it only works in the Super Nintendo version. Keep that in mind. So you're the only one of us that can do this.
Oh boy, okay,
it's gonna be great. Yeah, so as a level 37, fuck this fight, because the amount he has he's 5 parts technically. He has the ability to not only kill you but petrify your dead fucking body, which is easily the most annoying thing that's ever been possible. And he's got 2 of the most powerful skills I've ever encountered that aren't Big Bang on his final form.
Yeah, we had 2 big middle finger final boss fights this week.
Yeah. Xdeath is easily always been one of my most frustrating, because I don't grind out levels in this game, and I have to do it. And I always go with like 2 ninjas and rapid fire, which does nothing, and I have to throw shurikens just to kill shit because there's no other effective way to do it. And quick is easily becomes my favorite spell of any Final Fantasy game here. Quick, if you guys don't know, is a spell that allows you to stop every other character on the screen, enemy and ally, and perform 2 actions uninterrupted.
That's ridiculous. It's like Uber haste.
It's like 99 MP or something. It's some crazy high MP cost. But if you have you usually have a ton of elixirs at this point in the game if you haven't been using them.
So I found a way to so you know the ghost ship, right, at the very beginning of the game?
Yes, I do.
They drop elixirs.
Yes, they do.
I might have walked.
It's very rare. It's supposed to be rare, but I got like 2 or 3.
I walked out with 70 or 80.
I actually did have to grind there as well for one of my first playthrough to get my thieves the mithril dagger that drops off of those same guys, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's part of for the 4 Fiesta. You have to do that, or it just becomes a nightmare for the next part. But Xdeath is a final boss. One of the most impressive ones. The worst part is when he's down to his final section. If you do not time that right, you're dead.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Your level... See, Morag probably won't have to worry about any of this. Because when I only...
That will happen. He'll get meteor spammed and just be like, ooh, that tickles.
Yeah. Basically, when he's down to 1 body part, he will only use meteor every turn. And it's... If you've used Geomancer's Cave-In is the exact same thing as Meteor. So it's like he's using Cave-In on you over and over and over and over and over and over again. No, it's not. It's nothing fine about that. And you can also steal the strongest weapon in the game from the final boss.
From X-Death.
Yeah,
and
you can
just throw it out,
steal a
right?
different super weapon from each section of him.
Yeah, and I mean that only matters in the Steam version when you can then load it up again.
This is one thing too, like that a lot of people don't realize is equipping items in battle is
Yes.
goddamn amazing.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
I've taken advantage of it a couple times already throughout some of these previous games.
You could
But
do it in 2, but it was very limited.
3, yeah, I was just.
You could do it in 2 and 3, but it's limited in a sense. In 2, it takes up an extra item slot. Yeah.
And it's nice, it's useful, especially actually in 4. It only shows the weapons that you can equip versus the whole list, which was really
Yeah, on the PSP. They didn't do that on the GBA version, but I'm playing the PSP version of After Years, and it does that there. And I was like, oh my god, this is the best change they've ever made.
Yeah.
Well, it's cool. Like when throwing weapons, it only showed the weapons I could throw, which was nice for 4 as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of really nice things like that about 5, but fear X-Death, Marek. Fear him. Because he does not pull punches. He is just like he is like zero miss.
I am looking forward to the boss where you have to learn it. It doesn't matter what level you are. You got to learn something about it. And
Well, there's
There's a few of those, yeah.
I'm expecting a few of them to pop up.
a very grand thing you're going to have to learn about X-Death very quickly when you reach that final form, and it's going to take a lot of trial and error to figure out what you're supposed to do. If you've never beaten him before, that one attack, this one grand attack, is complete bullshit to figure out how to counter.
Not to mention the other one. There's
2. Yeah, there's 2 of them. But once you figure out those 2, the fight eases on. The fight gets a lot easier. But even then, if you don't do the very end right with meteor spam, it turns into a nightmare. He is one of my favorite super bosses. He's very close. I'm sorry, final bosses.
He is a bit of a
At level
super boss,
37, he's a super boss. Okay.
I think my first 4-job Fiesta, the Thief, Red Mage, Ninja Samurai one, I believe I was only around level 38 to 40 for that as well. That's a bad fight at that level.
Yeah, Morag. So you like grinding way too much.
They're addicting, man. They're addicting. When you get stars above your head, I'm just like, I want stars above all the heads.
There's a trophy for that in the, or there's an achievement for that in the Steam version. Get every character to every max job. You should maybe have played that version.
Maybe I should have. Like, I actually looked up how stats work. Actually, I was really happy to see that we don't have the same problem with HP stats as we did in 3. Because with 3, to level up your character to get max HP, you have to make sure you have jobs with extremely high VIT, because whenever you level up, it checks the job VIT, and that's how much HP you get. In this game, it don't matter.
No.
Everything is like there is
It modifies as you change classes.
There's a little bit of base stats you have, but majoritively it's based on what class you are at that time, which I think is really cool.
Speaking of stats, another cool thing that they do with the job system here, depending on what your secondary ability is, that can sometimes modify your base stats for a class. So, for example, if you're a knight, you're normally going to have like 5 magic attack. But if you throw on black magic as your secondary ability, you will scale up to the level of magic power that you would have as a black mage at that point. So you can have a knight with an Excalibur that can drop flares that are just as strong as a black mage's flare.
And that's when Spellblade comes into effect.
And that's what I was actually hoping. I was like, from what I've just like been trying to think of, like a really cool combination. I was probably going to use some mystics with X magic, and then just go to.
I wonder, do you have sorcerers in your version, or are they called mystics?
They're Mystic Knights in
Mystic Knights, yeah.
Because sorcerer gives Spellblade in my version, and there's no Mystic Knight.
Yeah, they're called Mystic Knights in mine.
Okay, just making that makes more sense because a Mystic Knight. That's what a Mystic Knight is supposed to be, not a sorcerer. That's not what I think.
Yeah,
of.
that bothered me when I first played the GBA version a few years ago. I was like,
Yeah.
it's not a sorcerer. Sorcerers use
That's a
spells
Mystic Knight.
directly.
Aren't sorcerers by stereotype just lightly cladded ladies? What's
They're
going on?
charismatic spellcasters. Thanks,
You're only supposed to have silk on them. What's going on? I see.
So 5, seems we've all been enjoying it, Morag especially.
Yeah.
You guys are already contemplating your next playthroughs. I don't even want to ask how high of a replay value it has. You guys are already talking about playing through it 2 times in the next few months.
Coming from like my point of view, like a game that I keep going back to is Terraria, because of the different ways you can go and play through the game to put limits on yourself. And you know what? The game is designed so then it is each way is almost viable. And if not, you're going to have problems here, you're going to have problems there, but you're going to find ways to overcome it. And I keep seeing that with 5, that you can go through and play in almost any way you want.
The true power of the job system.
That is called, what is that called? Good game design. Good game design. There we go.
It was called, huh?
I'm not used to saying this, so I can't remember.
Yeah, it's been so long since we got a chance to, man.
What's game design?
I like it's funny. We've pretty much torn apart the early Final Fantasy games for the things they did bad. We're finally getting to one we can compliment. There we go. Two that we can compliment.
I think by far the weakest thing of this game is the story. Final Fantasy V story.
And it's still, in my opinion, better than 1, 2, and 3. My opinion.
So far, at least from the fan translation, because for people who don't know, the Super Nintendo version I'm playing is just a fan translation. It felt like that they're trying to concentrate on the characters and how they intermingle with each other, and small hints of like how they communicate. And this is where we start seeing a lot of this pop up through 7, 8, and 9. Not even 6 had a lot of personal drama in between characters.
In between them, yeah.
A little bit, but with 5, it felt like there's more interpersonal drama and people wanting to, like, showing empathy towards other people and wanting to know a little bit more and, you know, actually want to help out. We see a bit of that in 6. There's a little bit more in 7 and 8. 9, we see a lot of it, and 10, and that's where. And then afterwards, emotion starts being thrown into all the games.
Yeah,
12, not so much, but 13, you get to see it as well too.
A lot of drama.
Yeah, but I think that's 5 is where they start putting that drama. 4 barely had any drama between characters, except I'm gonna save you all, make my death good.
Kane was a dick. There was drama.
He's
there.
a big dick.
Actually,
doesn't have a big dick.
Edge. Edge was one of those like kind of like I'm the best around type of characters.
Well, it hits on all the female characters too. He's just like, oh, I'm a prince. Oh yeah.
He likes them younger.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, as long as they're younger, but they've aged 10 years rapidly over the course of the last day.
At least there was that. Come on.
All right. Okay. All right. That's.
I guess I'll give you that. Yeah.
I'll give you that then, I suppose. All right. So you say we're kind of starting to hit the golden age now with Final Fantasies. This week we're delving into the golden age. Or do we still have some time to go? Because depending on who you ask, 4 to 6 is either the golden age, or 7 to 10 is the golden age. Those are kind of like the two highlights. Although people could argue about 8, but we'll talk about that when we get to it.
There's no argument there.
There's no argument there. Yes. Which would you say this is the golden age with 6 included next week, or would you say that the PS1 era and the PS2 era is more of the golden age?
But
you got to define golden age. There's
golden age.
types of golden age.
The section.
Around 6 and 7, I think the bridge in between those two generations, I count those as the big golden age for me, because we missed out on 5. So for the U.S. market, it's harder to say that the Super Nintendo was the golden age. And then 6 leading into 7 is really great, and then 8 happens, and then there's 9.
Then 8 happens. Well, we can't wait till that episode now. And by the way, the only reason why I log in 4 to 6 versus 7 to 10 is because it's the end of the 2D era towards the beginning of the 3D era. And there's some mixed emotions when 7 goes 3-dimensional with their horse hooves.
Actually, a very good friend of mine hates 7 because it gets rid of sprites.
I have a really good topic to bring up when we talk about 7.
Okay. What about you? You didn't. We heard Slack's answer. What about you, Morag? Would you consider we're the golden age now, or is the golden age coming later?
I'd say 4 to 6 was the end of the sprite based. Like this is its own golden age, and I'd say that 10 by itself was another golden age. 7 they were still trying to get their footing. 8 happened. 9 they're just like
stop saying 8 happened.
8 happened. Well, we gotta just go back to our roots. Let's see if we can bring 1 back. And that's literally how they marketed all of 9. How can we bring it back? And then 10 happened. It was a launch title for the PS2, and I think it was
Yeah, it was really close to the launch of the PlayStation 2.
And they brought it back to try and bring like some hype that they did from FF7 being a launch for PS1. So, and then afterwards, then we had the nightmare of dev time that we started seeing on 12, and then 13, and then 15. Having all their dev time issues, 12 went through 3 different engine changes, design changes, everything.
That poor game.
Yeah.
12, because they just didn't know what to do after going from 10 to 10.2. And if you play 10.2 and then see where they got 13, you know where they got 13's system from if you played 10.2, because 10.2 system is really good. But goddamn, stop chapters in games. Just don't do it ever again.
But Bravely Default has chapters.
No, okay. Chapters.
Character traverse.
You have to trigger all the shit yourself. You have to make me go back to points on a goddamn map. It's like talking to NPCs in a city all over again. You gotta talk to every NPC 7 times if you want to progress the story.
Fair enough. That's
That's the kind of dumb stuff that I don't like in just like JRPG flags in general. I have a very big problem with, and that's part of why I hated Kane's Trial and the bonus dungeon of Final Fantasy IV, because that's all it is. It's just finding the right flag to activate over and over and over, and I hate that stuff. To go to a different game series, I played through Secret of Mana and Seiken Densetsu 3 earlier in the year, and in Seiken Densetsu 3. At one point in the story, you're waiting for a cannon to be built. For that cannon to get finished building, you have to go into a random house in the town and talk to a random NPC in that house. And she goes, "Hey, I heard that the cannon is done." And then you go back and the cannon's ready. There is no other trigger for it. None of the other NPCs.
When an NPC tells you the cannon is ready.
Oh, actually, here's a little story. So Final Fantasy IV, first time I ever played Final Fantasy IV, I was playing with a friend. We had no idea how to unlock the underground. We were stuck. We didn't know how to progress in the story whatsoever. We spent hours trying to find information. We ended up having to go and call our local video game store called OK Video. And they have
is that what OK Cupid turned into? Is that the start of it?
Okanagan. Remember, I live in the Okanagan, so they opened up the player's guide, found out that we had to go and drop the thing in the well, and then open it up. So
yeah, I talked about that when we got to that point in that game.
To this day, I still don't even know how you're supposed to find that information out.
Yeah, how are you supposed to? It's like there's one town that you haven't been able to fly to any other time, that you haven't been able to interact with, and then there's a few NPCs in the town that hint that there is a history of something special there.
They just talk that it's a pit, and that you can go up, you can drop an item in, and you're just like, what? It doesn't even talk about an underground, nothing. It's just a pit.
Yeah, nothing. No one there mentions anything about the underground. They just hint at some kind of a backstory for the town, and you're like, okay. Yeah, it's pretty dumb point.
Clearly, what you should have done is equip the red crystal and kneeled next to a wall to let the tornado take you to the next part of the game.
This is not Castlevania 2.
Clearly, that's what you should have done. All right, well, with that, I think we've reached our conclusion for this week with 4 and 5. We've had plenty to talk about with these games. Next week is just Final Fantasy VI, my favorite!
Which we'll probably talk about even longer than we talked about both games today.
Yeah,
yes.
Maybe.
Considering the sheer number of characters and the sheer number of optional scenes that you can encounter in that game, as well as the incredible length for a Final Fantasy game, comparatively, it is a lot of words. Best way I could think to put it. It's a lot of words. Some news that Morag has very generously stuck on my show notes towards the end here, even though he put news and then conclusion, which I had to go out of order for this one because I just combined all of my conclusions in my notes. So we have confirmed that Final Fantasy 15, you will need at least 45 gigabytes free space on your PlayStation 4. For reference, I got my review copy of Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and I had to preload it, and it is 39.1 gigabytes. So yeah. So that was it's bigger. It's way, way bigger than that. So looking forward to that 45 gigabytes. Make sure you have space. A lot of it.
Yeah.
And also, something that's not 15 related, but I didn't know until I saw the notes. Kingdom Hearts 3 pre-orders are now available at GameStop.
They were taken down though already.
Oh, but we can still say that it happened. We can.
Was there any kind of a date link?
But that's not the exciting part. Kingdom Hearts 3 pre-orders at GameStop were available for a short time for the Nintendo NX.
Ooh.
And it was just all it had was a 2017 release date.
Yeah. No official release date. It has already been taken down. It has already been removed. But it was available for some time. So if you're buying a Nintendo NX, you may have to consider that it may be coming out on that platform after this potential slip.
Oh my goodness. If they launch with like Kingdom Hearts 3 and Monster Hunter Generations U, system seller, right there, man.
I mean, it's not like Kingdom
they'll
Hearts.
win the console
It's not like
wars
Kingdom
and all
Hearts
that
3
stuff.
won't be on the other consoles. It's only
I
Monster
don't give
Hunter.
a
Well,
shit,
yeah, but
man.
yeah, it's not the point.
Yeah,
It
That's
feels
not the
right
point.
having a Final Fantasy on a Nintendo console.
it does. Well, this is Kingdom Hearts, and they did confirm there would be
It's-
no additional Final Fantasy characters in the new Kingdom Hearts. So keep that in mind. That has been. Don't expect many of them. It's going to really be a Kingdom
Screw that,
Hearts.
then.
All right. Well, with that out of the way, let's do some news before we do our finishing plugs right here. Some other news. Kingsglaive is in select theaters this Friday. I got my ticket. I got it. There's one showing a night every night for like 6 nights in a row. And on top of that, mine was, by the way, the only AMC that received showtimes last week. From what I understand, today or tomorrow, Monday or Tuesday, August, what is the Monday? Is it the 16th? Yeah, the 15th. The 15th. Monday the 15th or Tuesday the 16th. That is when all the other AMCs will have their pre-orders available. But there's more than one night, from what I understand. So you don't have to go see it this Friday. But they were all at the same time, 9:30 p.m. every single night. And the tickets were only $7 for me.
That's not bad.
Yeah, for a 9:30 showing. Yeah, I think it's because it's a special event more so than a traditional movie ticket. So, also 12 minutes. The first 12 minutes of the movie, IGN put them up on their website as soon as within 30 minutes before we started the
I
show.
thought you were going to say the whole movie was 12
No,
minutes.
they
Like,
put
yeah, no wonder
they put the first 12 minutes of the Kingsglaive movie up on their website. So if you're somebody who wants to get a little bit excited for it, and you don't care about the first 12 minutes being spoiled, and you just want to get excited and you want to have something to talk about with people, the first 12 minutes of Kingsglaive are available online on IGN's website. So go check that out. It should be on their front page or on Nova Crystallis' website or on IGN's Twitter or something like that. Now, I don't know. So, Morag, we're trying to plan out the movie night for Kingsglaive. And Mel did some work with that. We might actually have something. We were going to do one just for the Hap Army, but I know you wanted to do one for all of it.
For Final Fantasy Count Up if possible.
Yeah, all of Count Up. So we'll have to talk about that, but we are planning a movie night for Final Fantasy 15 when it goes digital. Keep in mind that the game being pushed back has not changed, that the game still digitally releases on August 30th, and the physical Blu-ray edition is still October 3rd. Even if you're not getting the version inside the box, you can still order a physical Blu-ray, and it will be available October 3rd. Keep in mind. What else do we have here? And I think that's it news-wise. With the delay we got to talk about at the beginning, I don't think we really have.
There's not much else right now. I'm just looking forward to seeing what else they're gonna do with Final Fantasy 15 at this point, especially with them saying that they want to put extra stuff on the disc right now.
That's the other thing. You just reminded me. There's a 30-minute gameplay video of Final Fantasy 15 releasing tomorrow.
Oh,
in English.
yeah, right. Yeah.
In English.
Yep.
In English. No Japanese voice acting this one. It will be 30 minutes of the English version footage of it. So you might be able to get an idea of things that you might take a look at the things like the FPS to see if it's been improved. The wait mode, we are also expecting to possibly see more active use of it. A different area of the game potentially, but there are a lot of things that we're looking forward to seeing tomorrow to see. Maybe we can see why they've decided to push it back to November 29th in what we see tomorrow. Or we're going to say, fuck that, give it to me now, this looks fine, please, I don't want to wait any longer. Depends on what you decide you want to do. So, hopefully you're looking forward to that as well, guys. On that note, we're gonna sign off. These two got to get to stream. I might even stream a little bit longer because I'm on Final Fantasy 7 and I'm having a good time. So, why don't you gentlemen tell them where you can find you? Let's start with Morag this week. I just pick randomly, so.
Twitch.tv/tehMorag. We're playing through some Final Fantasy 5, FF6. We'll start up when it starts up. I am currently also trying to help out with one of my community members, trying to get to TwitchCon as well, too. So if you want to name one of the characters and just be completely trolly, right now pretty much everyone is named Rosa. So we are doing it via donations, so we can try and get this one person, Vixtar, to TwitchCon. So if you want to get a 6-letter name in there, like if you want to have a general store, feel free to go and check it out. That's just in my channel, just !drive for some of that information.
All right, and Slack, what about you, my man?
Slackaholicus.tv. Right now I'm playing through After Years. I'm probably going to be wrapping it up tomorrow. I think I'm going to have to do a lot of off-screen grinding later tonight if I want to do as much of the bosses. What else? I got new emotes. Come in, enjoy them. They're
Nice.
fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Now the
Thanks.
artist is freed up, and yeah.
Yes, I know that artist quite well. Oh,
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. I like. You should definitely, if you're a fan of my emotes, guys, on my chat, his emotes are designed by the same guy, Maury. So
I actually, I'd been looking for an emote guy for a while because I had all these ideas, and then I found out about the count up, and I checked out your channel, and I was like, this is exactly what I want. I want those emote. I want the art like that.
You want my
I knows
emotes?
Final Fantasy. So if I'm like, hey, make me a cactuar, he's gonna know exactly what I'm talking about, and it turned out fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah. So Maury Kaid is another name he goes by here on Twitch. He's done some phenomenal work for us. So if you're a fan of mine, you should go check out his.
He's actually the one that created the count up logo as well.
He is also the one that made our count up logo. He's the one that made the artwork for Slack, myself, and Morag of our Final Fantasy VIII-esque character portraits. So he's done a lot of different art for us and for individually and for count up as a whole. So show him some love, guys. We always show Maury some love. And I am, of course, the other host who hasn't said my outro thing yet. It's Mr. Happy everywhere. Just Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. You can find Mr. Happy 127 anywhere. I'm currently on Final Fantasy VII, and I don't really have anything cool to announce like these two, where he's got new emotes, and I've got a cup that explodes. That's about it.
I need a.
Oh, you got that Muxy Cheer Cup. Nice.
I got the Muxy Cheer Cup. We're also working on something called Battle Bits. Member of our community,
Are you
Balcom.
moving forward with that idea?
He's got most of the framework done for it, where people
Wow.
when they cheer, it battles their bits to the death. So when two cheers come in, they battle, and then it can also queue in people who are going to go next. So even if there's a battle going on, it'll queue in the next people and then push them forward as soon as the battle frees up or something like that.
Nice.
So we are moving. The framework is done, but there's still a lot more to be done. But it's moving along. So we'll have that soon. You can maybe we'll make it so you could suplex each other. I don't know. So that's gonna be a highlighted next week.
Are your bits going to be trains?
I'm sure that if I hire someone to do the art, we could figure something out. Make it happen.
That seems easy.
He's watching right now, so he's like, shit, stop adding more things. Stop adding more things, please. Oh my god. On that note, everyone, thank you for joining us for Final Fantasies 4 and 5 and the sad announcement, although we were not too sad about it, delay of Final Fantasy 15. We will see you next week, where I will have seen all of Kingsglaive. They will have seen 12 minutes of it, if anything, and I'll have to keep my damn mouth shut while we talk about Final Fantasy 6 instead, pretty much. All right, thank you for joining us, everyone. That'll be a wrap for this week. We'll see you next week, and until then, take care.
See ya.